Welcome to What's in a Game. Sorry about that. On today's show, Jamal Murray and Will Hardy delivered Denver their 7th straight victory. But what could the team show at this point to prove that they are really ready for the postseason? We discuss the players who are rising to the occasion as the playoffs draw near and who still leaves us with the greatest concern. Stay tuned. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today, Will?
Good. 7-game winning streak now, which is crazy to think about.
I would just don't think about it. It's like Schrodinger's winning streak. As soon as you observe it, it's gone. It's dead.
Fair enough. Yeah. But
I felt weird even acknowledging it.
Man, if only we beat Memphis, we'd be on an 8-game. But hindsight, it's okay. I figured we'd be on a long win streak, and it's.
I think it'd be 9, wouldn't it? Did we not win the one
9?
before?
Oh, Memphis? Yeah. Well, I feel like the 7-game streak started after Memphis, so it would be 8. But I don't.
Well, yeah, but if you'd won Memphis, then like the streak would have extended to before Memphis as well, right? Or had they lost the one before?
Oh, did we win the one before? I thought we lost. But yeah.
No, you could be right. I just don't remember what that game was. It was just a weird couple of weeks, man.
I feel like it was like we lost to the Lakers or something, but that could have been.
No, it was Sixers. We won that game.
Oh, so yeah, 9-game. Dang. Anyway.
Yeah.
We're on this win streak, but there's still concerns. Like there's, I'm happy we won, and Jamal Murray's playing really well, obviously, and we're going to talk about that. And that that's the thumbnail for the show. I saw DNVR was talking about whether he could be a number 1 option in the playoffs, and we've had comments in the chat of people talking about whether Jamal should carry the load more in the playoffs and be a number 1 option. And it's hard to imagine because we have Nikola Jokic to run the offense, and he's been argued as possibly the greatest offensive player of all time in terms of how he can score in the post. He can shoot threes. He's the best passer, one of the best passers in the league, or like in NBA history, of course. But there is something to that. There's something to the way Jamal is getting shots and getting threes, and his accuracy, and it being possibly deadly when it comes to the playoffs. And it's what we've always asked for, to get this version of Jamal for the whole season, let alone like if we just have him for the playoffs and he's playing this way, even better. And you'd think, though, if Jamal was playing this good, we'd be crushing everyone. Unfortunately, we have the injuries, so we're going to be outside the top 3 seeds, it seems, and it sucks for sure. But if you have this version of Jamal, everyone's always said the Nuggets probably are unbeatable, and yet they don't seem that invincible at the same time. There's still lots of questions.
I mean, they definitely don't seem invincible. They seem very invincible.
Yeah, exactly.
That has been how the team has felt like since the beginning of the season, like before injuries or anything, because they would have these like incredible stretches and then like squander it, right? Mad Dog says he's next to SGA for clutch shots. Yeah. At some point, I think before, who did the Thunder play recently? I think it was at Boston. Boston ended their win streak, but I think SGA had some clutch shots in that. Jamal was tied for clutch points, total clutch points this season with SGA. It's probably the award just goes to whoever has the most clutch points that season. So. It's also cursed, so maybe that'll work in our favor. Okay, let's jump into things, but before that, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Helps us out with the algorithm as we try and grow the channel. So well, you've already touched on the fact that the Nuggets are on a 7-game win streak. I also touched on it on this in the intro of the show, right? Since our last show, they played the Jazz at home. They played the Warriors at home. Got some W's at home, which has felt nice because I just didn't really know what to expect from this team at home. Actually, just going to do a quick perusal of the standings to see if their home record is tied with their road record yet. All right. I think they're pretty even now. So home, they're 24-13. On the road, they're 25-15. So I think that's going to be technically a better home record by a little bit. Yeah, how do you feel about just that aspect of the team? Like, it's not like they've been like amazing at home. Like, some of these games were like kind of nail bitey for like larger stretches of the game than you would have liked, and maybe they pull away at the end. But then they ultimately were able to win them. Like, how have you felt about just that aspect of like, okay, they're not like totally broken in Ball Arena?
Yeah, I guess the way you just put it at the end is what is most important. Because a lot of our discussion about the weird losses at home has been the schedule and late night games and the most back-to-backs and the least amount of rest, all this stuff, including the fact that we had injuries. So it's even hard to have a serious homestand when you're shorthanded all the time, let alone the fact that we've not had a long homestand compared to other teams. So we just needed a time. We've had this. The back-to-backs are over. We're never gonna have to see that again. And we've been able to string together more convincing wins. Granted, we're playing less good teams at this time. We could have won in more convincing fashion. Last night, in particular, looked like they were going to come back again, but Jamal just went off. Of course, we all saw that, and we got to put in the deep bench. And I guess you could say the starters got a tiny bit more of rest and didn't have to strain themselves just to win the game against a tanking team anymore. So yeah, it's the same thing with the Nuggets. You can see it anyway. You can say, hey, they're starting to play better. They have a winning streak. They're taking care of business. They took care of business versus the Jazz and other teams, but like there was a moment there where it was going to look hairy, and we're still discussing, was that a good win? Like, you should still, winning ugly is winning. It doesn't matter how you do it, just find a way. But it's still I have questions about the team. We're going to get to that later too. And I found it funny that like I said on Twitter, I have all these questions about the Nuggets, and I just kind of want to get to the playoffs to start getting some answers to these questions. And Matt Moore responded to me and said, you can still just not ask the questions. Like, if we don't win the championship this year, or we go out in an early fashion, he was like, you could still just not ask them. And I didn't even know really what he meant by that, but you were like, this is a great show idea. We're going to go ask some questions. So here we are.
It is a great show idea. We're definitely going to ask the questions, because I think that this has been a season of uncomfortable questions, in large part because of how well we've seen them be able to play, and how well we think, how much better we think that they should be playing, right? Yeah. Let's see here. So let's start with some of the positives. Positives from this most recent game against the Jazz, which was also a W on the road. So that's another year. I think that's the fourth game against the Jazz, right? So they've swept the season series against Utah. That's going to be the second time, was it, in their franchise history? Because last year was the first time like ever, I'm pretty sure. Like, that was a thing last year.
Mm-hmm.
All it took was for the Jazz to really intentionally tank that game. Neither Filipowski nor Brice Sensabaugh, who were completely cooking us, close to that game, even though it was close at the end. Utah understands the assignment. Okay. So, okay. But the other MVP of that game was obviously Jamal Murray. He took 16 threes in that game, which was... It's funny because I could tell he was taking a lot of threes, but I was surprised when I saw the box score and saw like, oh, wow, 16. Like, it didn't feel like he took... Like, it didn't feel like he was forcing a ton. There were definitely some that were like a couple of heat check moments, but it wasn't crazy. Jamal has definitely had some games that have felt like that in the past, where you're like, oh, wow, he's really like pressing the issue, sometimes for better or worse. But this game didn't actually feel like that. It felt like he was very much in the flow. And maybe that's because it's not like Jamal took a lot of shots overall in this game, like a crazy amount. He took 26, which is a lot for him. But in the context of having taken 16 threes, that's over half his shot diet, is what I mean. Is like, it's not like it's not like it was a lot of threes and a lot of drives, like, and a lot of middies. It was like mostly like a lot of threes, if that makes sense. Right.
Yeah. I think this is his most attempts he's ever taken for three in a
Is that a
single
career
game.
high?
I think so.
I would believe that, because that is a lot for anybody, let alone
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know if I saw anyone say that online last night, but
yeah, we had a lot of records. I'll have to check that one out later. But I wanted to go through some of his best makes from this game. Or at least my favorite ones, because of just the variety. We always talk about the variety of ways that Jamal can get to all his shots, but even if you just broke it down to his 3-point shot, there's no one way that he gets those off. All right, let's start with the one off the cam assist. I think this was okay. So this is the one in transition. So Cam's in transition, dribbling down, and you could think like, I mean, Jokic is kind of calling for the ball here, and I think Cam wants to get him the ball. Go ahead and you can hit play, but Yo kind of gets in the paint, and all the Jazz players follow him, leaving Jamal open in the corner there. I think Jamal had made the first 3 of the game too. I think he made like 3 of the first 4 shots for Denver. They were like all threes. I thought, actually, I haven't checked. This was something that was interesting at the beginning of the game. I was like, Denver's taking a lot of threes. And it wasn't, they didn't finish with a crazy number. It's definitely a lot for them. 39 attempts. I thought it was going to be close to like 45 to 50 range, just because of how the game started. For the team, it kind of felt like intentional game plan on both teams' parts. Like, Utah's like, you can have whatever you want on the outside. We're locking down the paint. And Denver was like, fine, we'll take whatever you give us. Like, we're not going to force that issue too much in this game. So okay, that was that one. Let's go to the blob movement 3. So this was a nice out of bounds play. Jamal kind of coming off of those pin downs, and Christian getting it to him. Easy peasy movement 3 for
nice
Jamal here.
In the first quarter, it's kind of a screen the screener thing. I mean, if Jokic is open, which seems unlikely on that action, then he just runs out this little, almost, it's basically a flare in a way. And yeah, great make. It is just, I love that we're looking at the different ways that Jamal can score on these threes and what the team can do to just get him an easy look, because he's just like, he's on fire if he's open.
Yeah. I think Jamal, I saw him on one of one of these like NBA University graphics where he's like top 8 in like wide open 3-point percentage. He's shooting like 47% on wide open threes, which is like that's not like a crazy percentage for wide open threes for like the like tippy top guys. Like, that's like what you'd expect for like being in that, kind of echelon. But he had a lot of attempts. I think it was like something like over 250 on the season. And I was kind of surprised that he gets wide open threes that often, just because of how because he's the second option on this team, has been the first option for like non-trivial stretches of the season, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even like with Jokic back, when he's off the floor and Jamal's on the floor, like, he tends to be that focus. So that number, the attempts number, surprised me.
True. I wonder, I mean, I think teams will be trying to take it away in the playoffs. They know how deadly he is.
I hope they are, because it'll relieve some pressure elsewhere. We need we need something else to kind of take some pressure off of other parts of the offense.
And that's kind of why we wanted
from the outside. Yeah.
It's why for multiple seasons now, we've been saying we want his volume to go up a bit because of how it can open up other plays for people. And the fact that we've been lamenting lack of ball handling or lack of playmaking, it's the same kind of thing, but it's nice to see this as a weapon. And I'm not saying Jamal is going to be the number one option all the way through the playoffs, but this level of 3-point shot making, I mean, it still is almost rare in a way where we haven't seen it before with Jamal at this volume, at this level. Like, he's always been a tough shot maker. I hope, like, I guess, yeah, you're going to have a question. We're going to talk about it earlier if this will continue in the playoffs, but it's just such a game changer if it does continue.
Yeah. All right, let's go to his first heave in this game. So, I mean, we'll just let this clip play because it was really funny. I wasn't sure that he got the shot off in time, but yeah, I think he ended up off his fingers by like 0.3 or 0.2 on the clock.
It was kind of crazy that he even got that off because he almost,
Yeah.
it didn't look like the most convincing jump. He like stutter steps right here in a way, and then replants his foot and still gets the lift to make it, which is absurd. We're like the best team in the league with Jokic and Jamal. My God.
Tim knew that shot was going in. And it's not just because he like raised his arm, because I feel like a lot of guys do, just like in support of their teammates heave, like hoping it goes in. But he doesn't react after the shot actually goes through the net. He just kind of stays in that pose.
Yeah, everyone's celebrating it. It's so cool.
Okay, let's get to the 3 off the Val screen next.
Starts just almost with, it's a switch off of
gets screen. A mismatch off the Bruce screen, and then this game, because we haven't seen Val playing at the bench in a while, and then Adelman started to bring him back in. Was it just last game because of all the injuries, and then Val was just back again tonight? Or last night, I should say. I don't think I knew for sure that Val was going to play until I saw that Spencer was out.
Yeah, because, and I think there was speculation that P-Watt was going to be playing some 5 in small ball stuff, but then he had the hamstring tightness.
P-Watt had left last game with hamstring tightness too.
So there was.
Wait, what did Spencer leave last game with? Was it?
He had a hamstring. Yeah, Spencer had a hamstring. Sadly.
Our forwards and their hamstrings, man.
Yeah, and Tim, he hurt his knee last night.
Yeah,
the injury looks crazy, man. But everyone seems optimistic that it's not super serious, just precautionary with P-Watt trying to get him out rested. I didn't see the Tim injury, but didn't seem like people weren't like freaking out.
Me either. Me either. Someone said that he had banged knees with Bailey, I think maybe. Yeah, so hopefully just a stinger. Glad we were able to pull out the win. Why does the whole team have hamstrings made of paper? Wish they're made of paper. It seems like they're made of like worn out rubber bands or something. Johnny Keene says, is that a straight training staff issue? The hamstrings are so common now. I don't know. I mean, it could just be this year, because prior to this season, Jamal would get one every so often, very common in guards that have like his level of usage, and AG would, and it was just kind of a question of like, well, he's got the miles on his body and whatnot. But hamstrings, I don't feel like they were super common with Denver, nothing like to this extent that we've experienced this season. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a training staff issue. These soft tissue injuries are also just generally on the rise in the NBA, and we probably just got like the rough end of the distribution in that sense.
All I know is that fitness, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I am interested in it, it is a weird space where there's never
more of an
really,
art than a science.
Yeah, they try to be scientific about it, but it's really hard to get studies together on it or anything definitive. And it's always changing and new thoughts about it all the time. And I've definitely heard
everybody's
from people,
different. Like it's like medicine. I mean, like doctors will tell you like medicine is an art as well. Just to some degree.
And Johnny Keene bringing up pace of the game, that could be part of it. I wonder what the NBA is going to say. They at least said they're going to look into it. They've always been adamant that the amount of games has not led to injuries, but they're feeling the heat
pace
now,
of the game is like way more than it has been in the past, though. So, I mean, I can't imagine that wouldn't impact anything, right? Like Chemistry
Mm,
says, the Spurs have always been very good at prolonging their players' careers with their training staff. Wemby benefiting from that right now. I mean, Wemby is like 20, so like, let's see what happens.
yeah.
And he's also got his own like specific things that predispose him. I'm sure if Wemby had his own way, one, he wouldn't have played as little as he did his rookie season in terms of like having kind of extreme minutes restrictions and whatnot. That was in part because they were watching his injury, kind of trying to manage injury risk, uh, actual injuries and injury risks, but also because they were like, it's fine if you don't play because we're tanking right now. Like, chill, man. And last season he had the DVT. Like, I mean, he had to miss like 30 games or something to close the season because of that. And this year he obviously had things. And I thought they would hold him out more, especially down the stretch of the season, but they're really making a push for this thing. Spurs still have a legitimate shot at the 1 seed, depending on how, OKC does down the stretch of the season. Also, obviously, depending on the Spurs, but if they can, win out or close to it, they've got a shot. Dahlia says in his X-Nose chat interview, Jokic said the injuries were due to either players not being prepared, the pace of the games, or the number of minutes they play. Thank you, Nikola Jokic, for telling us about the fork that you found in the kitchen. Yes, those are all factors in injuries.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
will say, like, because Jokic also was talking about how he's had the same training staff since he arrived in Denver to now, and that's great because it's a great sense of community, and like he likes the collaboration with the people on the Nuggets. They're very important to him. So I thought it was kind of interesting. He's like talking about his training staff and all that. And Jokic is obviously injured less, doesn't have soft tissue injuries, knock on wood. The one that he went out with was a contact injury, and that can just be unlucky. But a lot of the hamstring stuff is. I'm definitely worried about it, and I'm skeptical of the training staff. And I have heard some people that I trust talk about how they may not have the best methods in terms of rehabbing it, but I don't know for sure, and none of us really do. But the fact that like people keep coming back, and obviously hamstrings are hard, regardless of even if you're doing the best thing, because they're so sensitive.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily true that the training staff is a problem, but it is. All these injuries are just so weird. So it's a frustrating thing.
It's probably frustrating for the players too. I mean, we had the game. I think it was the Jazz game, or was it the Warriors game that AG was gonna play, but he felt like kind of weird during Braun. Was it calf tightness and then sat out? Was it the Warriors game?
Not
Um,
sure what game.
it was one of the previous two games, and based on how I think Adelman talked about it, that's what went down. And if that is how it went down, I applaud AG for saying something, knowing that he was risking them wanting to sit him and sat, because there's really no reason down the stretch of the season right now to be risking like aggravating something. He was still like questionable with calf tightness, by the way, for the game last night, but played. Didn't look like
Yeah,
amazing.
people were saying he looks stiff, and yeah, I tend to
I mean, part
agree.
of that is like you could look stiff because you've got something going on. You could look stiff because you're not playing enough, also. So it's like
Yeah,
this balance that you're trying to strike, and it's really, yeah.
yeah, like
Um,
chemistry. Just bringing up if the Cronkies are also possibly being cheap when it comes to medical staff and things like that, in the same way that they can be for GMs and coaches, and could be the case.
we don't
I don't
know.
know.
This is the stuff that isn't reported. So
Yeah,
we don't know how much medical staff at in Denver may compare to other teams at all. Um, we can definitely
hmm
compare facilities because those are hard to hide, but the actual staff we don't know. All right, let's go to this last one for Jamal. The Zoom threes is a three off of Denver's patented 3-man action here with Jokic, AG, and Jamal. Just classic stuff. No hesitation. Totally sealed it. I mean, the game was over already at this point because I think there were like 3 minutes left or something at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you could say that was the final dagger. I mean, he had a lot of daggers really that put the game out of reach for them at that point, but that was, I don't know, he's in such rhythm, and it was really nice that because Jokic was frustrating in this game, with the turnover. So to see Jamal just kind of take it over and we didn't have to worry,
Yeah.
we've been wanting to see that for many close games down the stretch, and so here we are.
So you already kind of touched on this a bit earlier, Will, but the question with Jamal and particularly with the 3-point shooting is, will he do this in the playoffs? Not necessarily be like this efficient, because he literally went 10 of 16 from 3 last night, which is absurd. And I know I talked about it as if when watching the game last night and even on rewatch, it didn't feel like he was really forcing the issue too much, even from the 3-point line. But to take 16 threes, you have to want to take close to 16 threes. And Jamal has not always wanted to do that in the past. He's definitely upped his volume this season. But do you think, or to what extent do you think this volume of 3-point shooting is going to continue for Jamal going into the postseason?
I think, like we were talking about earlier, teams will definitely try to take that away more. So I could see it going down just because of the nature of defenses being tougher. Because they're scheming, they're doing specific things. I'm hoping though that Jokic kind of takes it up a notch. He's been playing great. I know he had not that great of a game last night, but playoff Jokic, I think, is a thing. So you got to be worried about him as well. So that it's hard to cover both guys. And hopefully they get creative with just getting Jamal the same volume. Like, don't just accept the fact that they're trying to take it away and really look to get him some looks.
And Jamal is not the type of shooter that can only shoot well in one way. Like we showed, like every kind of three that I, put up in these examples was very like taken off a very different kind of action and a very different kind of situation. I don't actually even think I included a pull-up three in this list, and he definitely took his fair share of like pull-up threes in isolation and transition, etc. Jamal is actually I want to get this stat right because Adam Maris posted it a few minutes before the show. He's made the third most pull-up threes this season, and he's shooting over 41% on pull-up threes, which is apparently 5% better than everyone else in the top 10 for volume, which is insane. So the pull-up three is also a way to do it. And that's the one that I expect other teams to kind of hone in on the most if they wanted to take that shot or the 3-point shot away from Jamal, or at least limit it. But there are all of these other ways that Denver can work to try to get him some good looks there. And in particular, off these other actions is the way that if other teams are not taking away the three, Denver can absolutely crush them with counters. Mm-hmm. So like the one off the Cam assist, so in transition, that's just off of Jokic's gravity. If you don't leave Jamal in the corner there, Cam has an easy passing angle to Jokic, and it's like two smalls like trying to stop him from getting deep paint position and just like laying that in, for example. The baseline out of bounds, like that happens because AG sets a great exit screen, first of all. But also they're trying to stop Jokic from kind of curling around to get the easy inbound for another layup, for example, right? Obviously the heaves kind of out of the opponent's control. Thinking about the three off the Val screen. I mean, like Val could be rolling and Jamal can easily get him the ball in that situation too. That was the thing that I wanted to point out though in this game, especially in the fourth quarter bench stretch. But it was true in the first half one too. I felt like Jamal looked like some of the most comfortable that he has in those non-Jokic minutes. that he has in like a month or so, like ever since Adelman started going with the small lineups. And I know the small lineups have their value, and they're like much better defensively. And it's not like Denver can't score in those lineups either. But the offense just flows so much easier when there's a center on the floor with Jamal. And it felt like watching that game, I was like, oh, he's not taking as many of these like tough isolation like step backs and things, because he can just run the offense and he can create so much space for himself when creating his shot. Just off of running 2-man game with Jonas. And I'm not saying that they're going to do that in the playoffs. I'm just saying it's nice to see after a kind of like a weird month for the team. Actually, speaking of those minutes, if you could bring up the lob to CB, because I think this one came off of some pick and roll action with Jamal and Jonas. Yeah, 2-man game here. Brice helping way off of Christian on the weak side, and he just cuts in for a dunk. Boop.
Yeah, originally I thought CB was already in the dunker spot when I saw this, but I didn't see that he ran in from the 3-point line when I looked back at the clip. But
yes, well, this was you thinking that stashing Christian in the dunker spot was the
yeah. I mean, you were rightfully, being concerned about the spacing of CB in the half court offensive setting. And I know he is a explosive vertical spacer at times, not as much as AG, obviously, but like Christian Braun has hops. He can jump really high. And I'm like, you put him in the dunker spot, anyone helps off of him, it could be a free alley-oop. But yeah, that clogs up the paint more. There's things teams can do. It's not like a solve or whatever. But I just thought maybe he could play in the dunker spot. He loves cutting along the baseline. Things like that, but I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing.
He's more of a open court player, and he can kind of simulate that running in from the weak side corner in a way that kind of having to just kind of be in the dunker spot. He can't. We're gonna get to Christian, trust me. We'll get to that. A couple other great moments for Jamal. I thought he had some really good defensive moments in this game. I thought that of everyone, he was mostly pretty locked in, except on some missed box outs of John Conchar, who was killing us in this game, by the way. He had 10 rebounds, including 6 offensive rebounds as a player who's smaller than Christian, by the way. But I thought Jamal had some other good moments. If you could bring up the Cody Williams missed layup. So this was in transition. And so if you watch here, Jamal actually does a good job of just kind of bothering the dribble and forcing him to pick it up a little bit early. And then Jokic has a good contest there. Good enough to force a Cody Williams miss anyway. And just kind of, makes it a little bit more contested. Although it's crazy watching that back, I'm like, I think he would have missed that if it were open. Let's go to the transition steal next. Jamal does a good job here of just reading the play and shooting the gap. And like, look how far he is from the corner. And Sensabaugh was just kind of like late on making this read, but he wasn't that late. It's just maybe the pass needed a little bit more juice on it. But that was a good read by Jamal. Good play here to kind of recover a possession that was about to be, Utah playing with an advantage. Probably getting an open corner 3, or more likely pump fake and drive from the corner, which Denver has been deadly against Denver this season.
Yeah.
Johnny Keene says, hopefully the moves they made last summer will pay dividends in the playoffs. We're going to get to that, actually. We're going to talk about some of the players that are making plays, who looks ready and who's not at this point in the season. All right, let's go to the Chandler turnover. This was a good one because another transition play. I forget this player's first name, but his last name is Chandler. And Jamal just kind of running back in transition. Good positioning by AG also to kind of be there enough to contest, but also be able to potentially bother a pass out to 21. Cam also there. Like, I love the team. It's like this this team's not athletic enough to be a good transition defense. Like, I don't believe that. You just need to be able to get back. And it is the Utah Jazz, but these aren't unathletic guys that are playing for the Jazz right now. Yeah, and just kind of contest that enough to kind of block it off of Chandler at the end.
Yeah, I love when Jamal does it.
Yeah.
He has many moments where he can kind of face up and get a block on a driving guard. We've seen it a couple times, and there are times where Jamal, he does take defense seriously. And, you know, there was a pivot point in his career, I think around the bubble, when he was saying he didn't want to be picked on defense, and kind of stepped it up. And obviously the whole Nuggets have a problem with consistent defense, but just a sign of hope, a sign of cope for me that, you know, we can get the defensive intensity up in the playoffs like we usually do. But yeah, so great clip there. Love to see it.
Another player I wanted to shout out from this game is actually Cam Johnson. I've got a couple clips from him here, but I'll have more in a later segment when we talk about some of the swing possessions in this game. But I thought he started the game off kind of stiff. And then by the second half of the game, he was moving fine. He's another player who, trying to remember what happened last game with him. Didn't he leave? Was it the Warriors game with back spasms?
Sorry, who are you talking about?
Cam Johnson.
Oh, yeah, back spasms. Yep.
Yeah, back spasms. And then, but he was a full participant in practice. They had a couple days off before this game against the Jazz. But he had a really productive game overall. And I thought he was really, really good in the second half, especially. Okay, but first clip here is a blob 3. So another baseline out of bounds. I think this is the exact same play that they had run for Jamal. Oh no, so Cam's the inbounder here. And this is the play that we used to run for MPJ. And we sometimes run for Julian. Where he's the inbounder, Jokic is kind of like there, like, okay, I'll just be a screen if you're gonna like face guard me. And this Cam just steps into the corner and AG passes it back to him there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jokic easy. And CB, those two big bondies to fight through. And yeah, Filipowski was playing.
I guess Sensabaugh should have, like, you're literally guarding the inbounder. So, like, you should probably, but Christian comes and does a good job of, like, blocking him out. Just causes a lot of confusion there. And they don't know what they're supposed to do. I think that Sensabaugh was like, oh, switch, flip. And then he tries to, like, run out late, but it's like, it's too late at that point. Yeah. So just a simple play there. Nothing new from Denver. Just reheating some old nachos. But good nachos, I guess. All right, let's go to the weak side 3 off the Jokic assist. So Jokic has been trying to make these weak side passes from the middle of the floor when you've got like all 4 Jazz play. I don't even know what Utah's here. They're kind of playing like it's almost like a box and one on Jokic here, except you've got the one guy actually guarding Jamal. But you've got 4 Jazz players with either eyes on Jokic or a foot in the paint as he goes to post. I think this is Cody Williams here. Sensabaugh helping all the way over from the corner, and Jokic knows that before it is a no-look pass, but like Jokic has surveyed the situation. He sees it. Sensabaugh is just not. Yeah, just bam. Easy.
Yeah.
Right?
The beauty of having a Cam Johnson who makes threes in the corner, you know, just like having Mike or KCP and an option to pass to. You can't be that far off for sure.
And then I have a
pass that didn't get intercepted by the Jazz.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly. Jokic knows how to be careful with the ball when he wants to. If you could go to the second example here, so other side of the floor, it's literally the same possession, just on the other side of the floor.
Yeah, almost same exact thing. Yep, everyone in the paint.
Ace Bailey, I think that's Ace
4
Bailey,
Jazz
not
players
guarding
in the
Cam,
paint.
and yep. Look at this. The one, I don't know why 21 is face guarding Christian. Honestly, So again, you could pause here. This is another example of a team specifically sending the player who is supposed to be guarding Christian Braun to Jokic after Christian gives up the ball for a second. And then like this player doesn't recognize I could just continue, just like stay there. Like I can just leave Christian alone. But then he goes to get the ball from Jokic, but then Jokic passes it back out to Christian. And then he's like, okay, I guess I stay with my man now. You know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Those weak side passes for us can really hurt teams.
We're gonna revisit that dynamic with Christian's defenders when we get to him. The other player that I thought had a really good game, especially relative to expectation, given how this past month has gone, is Jonas Valanciunas. What did you think of his game overall last night? And then I've got a few like really strong clips from him.
Yeah. So I was worried at the beginning of the fourth because it was getting a little tight, and we're bringing in Jonas, and he'd been kind of out of the rotation. And
so we played him in the first half too.
Yeah. But like that stretch was a really good stretch because we kind of held on. We didn't really let him get back in the game too much.
Extended
and Jonas
the lead actually during that.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if we did extend it or not, but
yeah,
because Jamal kind of came back in and then was hitting shots, but I know he was playing as well. But Jonas was drawing fouls in the paint. He got like an important offensive rebound. There were times where he kind of lost focus where he could have gotten a dunk and players are coming from the backside and like knocked the ball out or whatever. But for the most part, he was doing really good and being a physical presence and like forcing the issue and strong finishes and against smaller players. So it was great to see him back in the lineup.
I wanted to point out a couple of good defense clips from him first because I thought he was very active defensively in this game, both on like contesting shots, but also I thought he just did a much better job on the glass overall in this game than he had in some of his limited stints earlier in the month. So let's go first to the block on Ace. So I don't actually know if he was credited for a block here. I don't think he was, but he's just kind of chasing here. They're playing kind of a zone. They get Ace drives to the middle there, and Jonas just gives it a good contest. Could like a better player have made that shot? Yes. Did Ace Bailey make that shot? No. Am I glad that Jonas contested it? Like, yeah. And then he was able to secure the rebound, which is more than we could say for this team often. And also just specifically like Jonas in particular at the beginning of the month, which is I think a part of why Adelman moved him out of the rotation, because it was one of those things where the defense was never good with him on the floor, but at least he was getting the defensive rebounds until kind of the latter half of the season, or latter like third. To the point where it was like, okay, there's like, this is untenable. Like, we got to be able to try to like get stops or something, like do something in these minutes. Basically, Jonas's fate was sealed after that. I think it was the Blazers game, maybe, where Spencer played the 5 for like the second time this season. Or at least it was the first time for an extended stint where it was like, this is what we mean to do, and not just because like literally everybody else is injured. And then they did well and like got a lead and extended the lead and whatever. And that's like Adelman has been kind of on that ever since, and just kind of like playing it out to see like where it can go with that lineup. But I thought that Jonas came in to the game last night and was just like total professional and didn't look like he had missed, a few weeks of basketball at that point. We'll go to the late contest on Cody Williams. I really liked this one because I was kind of like, this is what Jokic could do more often. And he really like leaps for it. He kind of like jumps all the way like through his toes for this contest. Now, to be fair, I would have liked him to try to stay in the play enough to get the rebound, because it was very conceivable that Utah gets the offensive rebound there, especially because they got a lot of other offensive rebounds in this game. But they're able to tap it around to each other and secure like a good team rebound there. That was my only critique of Jonas on that possession.
I wonder if Jonas just is more healthy now, and he was kind of because he was injured. He kind of came back. Obviously, hasn't been playing as much, so he could be like he looks just 100%. Even when I'm just watching him like get out to guys like this and down low. Not that he looked super hobbled, but I just feel like his energy looks fully back.
Compared to what?
Just like, yeah, because he came back. I mean, when he was injured in the season, he had, I think it was like a calf, wasn't it? Not, and it wasn't like he was out there
What was
limping,
it?
but
Actually, I think it was a calf. That sounds right.
yeah,
Maybe for a couple games, but I guess I haven't noticed. Or I didn't notice at any point where it was like Jonas is like moving different. Maybe I
yeah,
just have like a pretty low baseline for his athleticism just already
hmm
built into my mind. Like it's not like when he started the season pretty well, like playing pretty well, like they had like some good stints, some bad stints, some amazing stints with the bench at the beginning of the year. The thing that stood out with Jonas was never his athleticism.
yeah.
So I don't think I noticed if there was a drop off.
I think he looks slightly more mobile for someone who's not a mobile person, like just a little more spring to him, I think.
Mm.
But I don't know if that's something or not, but I just feel like because he had time, he is definitely 100% healthy at this point. So whether or not Adelman's going to continue playing him, I have no idea. But last night he looked like he could be an option, especially just down this last stretch of the season.
I think the only reason that he played is because Spencer was still out.
Yeah, well, that's
Um,
also true.
yeah, because I mean, he didn't. Trying to remember what Spencer left the game in the second half last time, right? So I don't think Jonas even played in the first half. So I think we kind of knew that
It's
like
it took P
it's
Watt to like get hurt to have to play Val, really. So,
yeah.
but he made a good case for himself. I mean, would you like to see him play more?
I didn't agree with Adelman completely, like fully excising him from the rotation in the first place. At
Yeah.
this point, I don't know because I don't know. This whole team has had issues trying to get enough time together to like build up chemistry. So I don't even know if that's like an argument against it or not at this point. Um, I do think it'd be great if they could figure out a way to at least feel comfortable enough to be willing to try to go to those lineups in the playoffs, right? Because if you're just foreclosing on the possibility, then that's just one other potential option that you've like removed from your tool belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not married to the idea of Jonas being like an every night guy, but I'd like him to be an option.
Even like in a first round series, I could see it. Probably less so against, OKC or like the Spurs or something. But yeah.
There was something to when I went back after the 2023 playoff run to rewatch some of those games, I was really surprised to go back to that first round series against the Wolves and see that DeAndre Jordan was intentionally put on the floor in the non-Jokic minutes, at least in the first couple of games. Not late in that series, but at the beginning when they were like, I think at one point they were like up 20 at halftime in like game one or something, right? Like they came out like gangbusters to start that playoffs. Um, and they were like, I was like, I think DeAndre Jordan and Jeff Green were like sharing the floor at points, but DJ did not play again until like the finals, right? When Jokic had foul trouble. So it could be that situation, but it could also not. Like I think Adelman likes small ball even more than Malone does. Like I think he's got I think with Malone it was like players that he just happened to trust. I think with DA, it might be like an ideological thing. Like he might be Ty Lue. We don't know. Right. And I'm kind of scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be curious to see. Because I feel like if it were Malone, I would think Val's probably gonna get a couple minutes here and there just to see if it can work. I don't know that DA's even gonna try it.
Yeah.
And that's not like
Yeah.
that's not a knock on DA versus Malone. That's like I think that with DA, the small ball thing might actually be ideological.
Could be. I will be curious to see. I don't know if it's like a defensive thing where they know we suck at defense, and so they're trying to go small and like a easier switch all thing, or is just he likes an offensive look with the small ball. I don't know, but
I like
yeah,
the
it's
offensive
weird.
look with a center on the floor the best,
Yeah,
right? As
yeah,
we've talked about with like Jamal, just feel like watching him play, he looks the most comfortable. He gets to shots the most comfortably in that situation. I understand the reasons that you wouldn't go to it all the time. Um, but I also think that there should be probably an attempt at trying to make it viable for like small stints, because you just never know what kind of things will end up inuring to your benefit in a particular matchup on a particular day, um, against other teams. Especially like it would be one thing if this was like the um not the norm for the team throughout the season, was like, well, Val's barely played all year, but that's not the case. Like Val's played a lot when he's been healthy. It's really only recently that when he's healthy, he's not playing. Um,
yeah,
so it's not like the guys don't know how to play with him, or that he doesn't know how to play with them. So yeah, I think absent that sort of barrier, it would be good to keep it as an option, but we'll
yeah.
see what happens. I do wonder, and worry about, frankly, what Spencer's sort of injury outlook is going to be going into the playoffs. He did miss this game, and maybe they were like, again, precautionary. It's the Jazz, whatever. Like, don't worry about it. We'll take care of this one without you. Um, but hamstrings are weird, and hamstring tightness is weird, and it can turn into a strain, and you don't want that to happen, and this, that, and the other. And our forward depth is already so weak that it might just come to a point where Da has his hand forced yet again by by injury luck.
Mm-hmm.
um all right, let's go to, we said a lot of good things about Val. We can move on here. I said we were going to talk about Christian Braun. And this has been a really rough season for all those with a Christian Braun agenda. I think just overall, obviously the injury is a huge part of that. Will, how did you feel about Christian's game yesterday overall?
I mean, it was okay. I think it's one of those things where you can point to the fact that he was like plus in his minutes with the starters and all that, and he runs in transition always. Jokic was looking for him. That's what caused some of his turnovers too, just like trying to pass in transition really. But usually he doesn't do that. And then, Christian got the alley oop, cutting. Defense was not good, obviously. And you did point out some spacing issues with CB, of course, which is something that we've been worried about for so long. He did make a three I can't remember what he shot last night, but there was like a play where people were really loading up on Jokic and he just passed to CB and he did hit the three, even though he was open. And his open 3-point percentage, I hear, is not so great this season. But yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to get concerned for sure. Lots of people are concerned about CB. Yeah, it's mixed because you see what he does well, and then you kind of are still worried about the things that you've always been worried about with him. Like you just kind of see it over and over again. So it's not like last night's game made me feel any differently about these questions with him.
So I thought Christian had a really poor 2.8 quarters in this game. Obviously, like you said, the defense was bad. He was really getting cooked. I thought primarily by Brice Sensabaugh, but we're going to talk about Brice Sensabaugh. He was basically cooking every single player on our team, and I mean like every single player. Offensively, I thought he was in like incredibly passive throughout the game, even in spots where it didn't make sense to be. Um, Oftentimes when he gets the ball, he's looking to immediately give it up to Jokic or Jamal. Just somebody else make a play here. I don't want to do it. Uh, I do think that in that fourth quarter, when because who went out of the game last night? Was it Peyton?
Mm-hmm.
Was it
And
Peyton?
Tim.
I'm trying to keep track. Whoever went out of the game. Oh, and Tim. Right, you're right, because him had the was the knee. Um, Adelman had to change up his rotation with the bench because I think that happened like late third quarter, where both of them kind of both go out at like within a possession or like a minute of each other, maybe around the same time. Um, and so Christian ends up starting the fourth quarter with the bench with I think Jamal and I think Cam might have been out there too. Val and Bruce, maybe that sounds about right. Um, I thought he was much more aggressive in that situation. And I don't think that it was intentional on Adelman's part to we need to split Christian from Jokic so that he can kind of like feel a little bit more free. I think that was just a byproduct of we have to change up the rotations because of these injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
Christian was just a lot more decisive in those situations. And it wasn't like I wouldn't call Christian an indecisive player. I think that he knows what he wants, but the problem is he's only decisive about one thing. That's getting the ball back to Jokic. Maybe you could say two things. If he's in the half court, it's and he touches the ball, it's get the ball back to Jokic. If he's in the full court in transition and he's got to make a decision, he's like 90% sure he's going to try to like dunk it, right? Um but I
Yeah,
thought
just
in the
get to the
fourth
rim.
quarter, he was a lot more willing to like look at the basket because there was no Jokic on the floor to, to get it back to at that point early in the fourth quarter. That is, they ran some nice, give and go kind of stuff in the to close the game, and there was a nice like split cut. Uh, that Christian's good at, knows the exact timing to receive that pass from Jokic later in the fourth quarter. But I thought early in the fourth it was interesting. Like you could tell the difference immediately. It was weird because I don't normally notice when Adelman changes like Christian's rotation. But he looked like a completely different player, I think, in that situation compared to when he played with Jokic. And it's not because he was making a ton of shots. I think he only made one in that like 5 to 6 minutes stint, but he was just a lot more intentional on his drives. Again, just like willing to look at the basket and yeah, just was mentally available to make more than just one decision, that decision being get the ball back to Jokic in that situation. And I was wondering, it really popped to me. I wonder if you felt the same way. And what does that say about whether Christian is going to be ready, at least offensively? Defensively, I have literally no clue. But how he's going to be when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder would he have made that baseline cut for the alley oop if Jokic was in? Like, because he's like, oh,
Yeah.
Jokic is in the paint, so I better not go.
Right.
You
That's a
know,
good
like I don't know.
question. That's a good question.
So it's interesting. Yeah, like you understand why CB is put with Jokic so often because we have known that they kind of played well together in terms of Jokic finding
Well,
him for
didn't you
passes and
hear
cuts
well?
and
He and Jokic had the best two-man net rating
yeah.
in 23-24, and that's why it was okay to let KCP walk.
Yeah. I know their numbers are always so good, like the Jokic and CB on the court numbers,
They're
but
not that good this year, by the way.
gotcha, yeah. But you like understand why they're paired more often than not. And especially CB being a starter and like us being specific about who are staggering and stuff. And Christian's not a stagger player, at least in terms of his skill set. But it is interesting how when you kind
Why
of
is
take
that? What do you mean by that?
like he's not going to be an on ball creator like Cam and Jamal can. He's just going to be more. standing
Does
around.
every
Like,
player who staggers have to be an on-ball creator, though?
I think you're more likely to be more successful as a stagger as a starter if you can take over like half court creation for sure. But he could be like a second, like if a 2-starter stagger, if you wanted like more defense or something. But anyway, like CB, yeah, is Jokic like a crutch to him, where like he's just too passive in terms of opening up his game more and just staying in a limited role that he's almost self-imposing upon himself with Jokic? It's a good question.
I was kind of surprised at how easily the switch kind of flipped with him. It felt like watching that game, because I like if DA had intentionally been like, you know what, I'm gonna try to like split Christian up from Jokic a little bit, just try to like, you know, let him like play a little bit more. And I don't think that's what happened at all. Like I actually explicitly think that was the furthest thing from DA's mind in what he did with the game last night. But let's say that had happened. I would have expected, even like being the hypothetical DA in this example, to not necessarily expect the switch with Christian's like aggression level and like decisiveness to flip so immediately. I don't know. I found it interesting. I wonder, you know, like, first of all, what's going to happen with Spencer, but also like, is Peyton going to be okay, like good to go next game? Like what the rotations might look like. I'd be curious to see what that looks like going forward, because I thought that in the first half of the game yesterday, and like I said, even like large stretches of the third quarter, Christian's hesitancy was at like an all-time high for the season. Like I was just like, I know he has issues with this, but I've never seen it look this bad. And then that completely turned around in the fourth quarter. And that contrast was stark to me.
Hey, so I have a really good solution for that. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Just got to get P1 healthy. Start him at the 2. CB goes to the bench. Doesn't play with Jokic as much. Comes off the bench. He's the old CB off the bench. And P1's in the starting unit. Boom. Look at that.
And somebody offers Peyton $30 million this summer, and we say sayonara.
Oh, God, please no.
I do wonder what would have happened if Peyton hadn't gotten injured when he did. Honestly, because Christian hasn't looked great like the last month. And Peyton was obviously on a trajectory to be like, you know, skyrocketing, starting especially from when Jokic was out. And I think that would have been, we're talking about having some uncomfortable conversations at the end of this podcast. That would have been another uncomfortable conversation this season. But I think because of the injury, and honestly, because Peyton, like, he had a couple good games after coming back from injury, but then, which we talked about on last show, last 3 games, kind of back to like what you'd expect from like bench Peyton. And part of it is he's obviously still like coming back from injury. Yesterday, he kind of re-experiences some hamstring tightness, which is that right? Was it tightness? I can't even tell. It's some kind of tightness, calf tightness, hamstring tightness with all these forwards recently. And so he's not, you know, he's not doing what he was doing in January or even what he was doing a week ago. It's like, that's the thing with injury and trying to come back from injury, is you're trying to build your consistency back up, and that's just not there. But I do think that it would have been a very interesting conversation. At this point, neither one of them has like a solid case, I would say, to be like forget the starter, just like the closer in that spot. And Christian has been benched multiple times to close games this season, for either Tim Hardaway Jr. or Bruce Brown. Cam's also been benched a couple times, so like that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I kind of wonder how often Christian would have closed games this season if he'd been healthy all the way through. One, would he have just been playing better than he has been as a result of missing so much time from the injury and trying to come back from that? But 2, if he was playing the same way that he was right now, would it just be a much more common thing if everyone else had been healthy also for him to get benched for someone else? And I think probably, especially because DA loves Tim Hardaway Jr. so much, as one should, because Tim has been great this season, but that that affection can go too far sometimes. But also potentially for Peyton. I think the reason that Tim has been like the go-to, like we got to sub someone out from the starters guy is because like Peyton has been kind of injured on and off. I wonder if that would be different if he'd been healthy all season, especially given the January that he had. Yeah, it's also a question, a season of questions that will never get answered.
Yeah, until maybe the playoffs. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Brice Sensabaugh because he was an absolute monster in this game against Denver. I didn't actually even have these clips in the show notes to start, but I was going back through to see who was getting burned the most on Denver, and I suspected based on the initial watch of the game that it was a lot of Christian getting cooked by Brice, and Christian did get cooked a fair amount in that game yesterday. But really, Brice Sensabaugh, just he played a really well-rounded offensive game, I thought, especially scoring game in this matchup against Denver last night. And I wanted to shout some of it out because it's like a combination of things that have plagued Denver's defense and also just like a young player finally putting everything together in a way that surprised me, because when I saw Brice Sensabaugh play in person at like a G League showcase, it wasn't necessarily the most impressive, like, wow, look how versatile he looks in like this NBA style offense. But that just goes to show you how little you can actually learn from those kind of showcase games, because they just don't play like NBA teams do necessarily. All right, let's first go to the 3 on CB. I believe this one was
This
is the Filipowski.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Yeah, so whoever 14 is that Shibwe maybe? So that's a nice just like flare screen for Brice. I mean, like a very like kind of almost like it's an intentional screen, but it's not like, oh my God, we got to get this guy off of him. He just needed a little bit of room, and Christian, gets lost behind that screen. Let's go to the off-screen 3 over Cam. So a nice just DHO with Zef Filipowski. You know what I just realized is I haven't seen Walker Kessler play this season. Is he alive?
Didn't he get hurt or something?
Did he? Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I don't know, because like the Jazz sent Nurkic to get a nose job. So did they send him for some nondescript surgery as well? Have we seen Lauri Markkanen play against Denver this season? I don't even know.
I think he played in the last
Maybe
game
the
where we were
first
kind
one.
of.
Was he in the last one?
Yeah, no, I can't remember.
I don't think he was in the last one either. He might have been in the first game, the one in December. But
I thought he was in the last one, and then they benched them, but maybe not. They've been doing that so much.
They benched Filipowski, who you might be confusing them because they like.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so just like a basic off-screen 3 on Cam. Anyway, I got distracted because I thought Filipowski was Kessler for a second, and then I realized I hadn't seen him like all season. I think that was the one where Cam fouls him again, and then he gets the 4-point play also. So that was annoying. Let's go to the back cut on Tim. It's a nice little drive on Filipowski. Denver's trying to play like some kind of zone here, but I think both Tim and Jokic get slightly out of position. But I think that Brice does the right thing, trying to like just kind of slice through the zone with this back cut here. It's like Jokic is slightly out of position to like help, but it's really Tim that gets beat here. So that was another one, just like good off-ball movement from Brice. And then if you go to the next play, which is this nice kind of face cut turned into like a little drive on Christian, just like bumps him out of the way, and then it's this nice short push shot in the paint. Very confident, moving through all these things, like very much like seems to have a decent knowledge of maintaining like consistent spacing principles and all of that too. So it was funny. I went back because I was like, I'm ready to rip this team a new one because their defense has been so bad. But I came away more impressed with Brice's offense than anything. And then the last one here was just a miscommunication between Jamal and Cam on a guard to guard action. I think I don't know why they didn't just switch here. Like I don't know if Jamal doesn't call out the screen. It seems like Cam is trying to call out the switch at this point. And then Jamal's just like way out of position and is like playing drop instead. I was just confused watching this because I was like, why didn't they just switch that? Actually, it's weird. Like Utah played small for this entire game, basically. Like I know Sheboy's on the floor, but he wasn't involved in most of these actions. Denver wasn't just switching everything, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I feel like it's partly them not being sure about the Jazz's roster and like being like Sensabaugh going off like this against us. I don't think they were ready, and I think Jamal even underestimated that closeout a bit, and he was pretty far back. He like backed up and then was like, "Oh, I have to switch," and then had to go all the way out there. And
like Brice can drive, but it's like, guys, this is their third season playing against this kid. Like he's a shooter. Whether he's like a good shooter or not, like that's not really, but like you don't have to play that far off of him because he's gonna like blow by you. Like he's not that kind of athlete. So I mean,
except he was.
They never read the Jazz scouting report, so I'm not surprised. What I was surprised by again with like the not just like switches should be automatic in those situations regardless of who you're playing, but they didn't want to or whatever. So I don't know.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they really didn't want Sensabaugh getting on Jamal with how good of a game he was having. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah.
But like he was the one that impressed me the most. I know, like it was weird. I was semi impressed by Ace Bailey. He made some like impressive plays in the game. But then I saw he went like 5 of 13 from the field. I was like, oh, I guess he was way more inefficient than I realized. It's hard because when you're watching these games, like I'm mostly paying attention to the Denver side of things. So I'm not always watching like even necessarily who scored on the Jazz unless I'm trying to make a point about what Denver did on that possession. So there were a lot of plays that when I went back and watched of Ace Bailey's that were like, I hate the shot diet. Kind of forcing things there. Like even that one that I showed earlier with the one where I wasn't sure that Val got a credit for a block. You didn't need to take that shot. Could have like shovel passed it into somebody else or even kicked out to the corner on that drive because Denver's the help had pinched in. But Brice I thought was very impressive. And I mean that's good. Like he's not necessarily like as high of a pick as Ace was, obviously, but he's been in the league longer, like knows how to play the game, understands Will Hardy's system, all of that stuff. So I wanted to just say some nice things about him because that was better than saying the mean things about Denver that I had originally wanted to say.
I was like, who the hell is Sensabaugh and why is he killing
us? My gosh. This is Michael Malone trying to tell you guys about Brice Sensabaugh.
Yeah.
It's funny because everyone kind of remembers that comment that Malone made about Sensabaugh in I think this was last year in a Jazz matchup. I think it was last year. Maybe it was the year before. I think it was last year. It's also gotta watch out for that. It's a contract year, so maybe you can't trust these numbers. It's a contract year and it's March basketball. But Malone was originally saying like our guys don't read the scouting report. They don't know who Brice Sensabaugh is. And he wasn't trying to insult Sensabaugh, nor was he trying to like uplift him. He was just pointing out that like the players that were available for that game, because that was another game where Utah was like everybody and their mom is unavailable. Yeah. Anyway, it was funny because it seems like they still haven't read the scouting report on Brice Sensabaugh. Yeah. All right. Last clip segment that I want to touch on here is just kind of talking about these swing possessions. We had this discussion on the podcast last week about how Denver is exceedingly good at blowing leads. And what kind of drove that. And, you know, I referenced some things about that Matt Moore had said about Denver's inability to capitalize in these like high leverage possessions, not necessarily being clutch possessions, which can also be high leverage, but high leverage possessions that happened earlier in the game, those opportunities to extend an already big lead to like put the game further out of reach for a team that often turn into just a swing possession in the other way in favor of the other team. And it felt like, especially early in this game, Denver had a lot of those, like, that was a missed opportunity. That was a missed opportunity. Because at the beginning of this game, Denver was making every three. They were hitting some like crazy backbreaking type shots or like would be backbreaking type shots, but then immediately letting Utah score on the other end instead of like getting another stop and then just like building on the momentum that they had. Kind of let Utah like hang around a little bit early. Saw it again in that third quarter, especially that was more like I would say at the beginning of the game, it was more about the defense. And then in the beginning of the third quarter, it was a lot more about offense and like turnovers leading to those swings. But I wanted to talk about some of these possessions because I thought that they were like, these are the ones that stood out to me. So one of the first ones, and I don't have a clip for every single one of these, but I'll just kind of describe them. AG kind of turns the ball over out of bounds, trying to shovel a pass into Christian under the basket. And this one was not one where I was like, I wish people had acted differently. I just wish like Christian had caught the ball or the AG had just gone up for the layup and maybe gotten free throws instead of trying to kind of maneuver in a very crowded paint. And then that on the other side of that, it turned into a Brice Sensabaugh 3, right? So that's probably a 5-point swing right there. The next one we have a clip for, it's the Jamal turnover. And I do mean the Jamal turnover because it was his only turnover the entire game. So would have been an open corner 3 for Tim Hardaway Jr. And maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. But you've got both Christian and Jokic in the paint with an advantage and like rebounding position also. So you'd imagine at least, you know, like a 2-point swing. But you could just let the clip play. Jazz get it. I think this turns into is this a dunk on the other end? There's a nugget back there.
AG's
it's AG.
Back, but...
And yeah, so nice jump off to Filipowski there. I just realized Keontae didn't play in this game either. He was on the bench in street clothes.
Yeah.
Utah.
A lot of them were in street clothes, yeah.
I say that because is that Chandler had a similar hairstyle to Keontae, so I thought that was him for a second. Yoke missed like 3 different transition layups. I think like 1 in the second quarter, 2 in the third quarter. We can go to Bruce's transition miss. This one was big because this would have been or should have been easy 2 points, or at least like we reset and control the offensive possession. But I think Filipowski ends up blocking this shot, and he got like that was kind of an impressive defensive play because he wasn't immediately right like trailing Bruce, but he managed to catch up and block that shot, and then just turns into a Filipowski 3. I think this was the point in the game. I was still listening to the Jazz broadcast, and they were talking about how they love when the defensive like the player who makes a defensive play gets rewarded on the other end like that, and I was like, ours is.
No rewards for us.
All right, I have like my favorite example because there were multiple. Jokic had 5, but my favorite example of the Jokic turnovers here, where we get the rebound. Jokic tries to outlet pass to AG, and he's looking directly where he wants to throw the ball, and like AG's not clear here. I think that the weird thing about a lot of these turnovers is, one, they're easy to read because he's not like disguising them at all, right? Just like straight up, like the quarterback is looking at the receiver that he wants to throw the ball to, and the safety is just following his eyes. Like that's what that one felt like.
Yeah.
Brice is open, and like he's not as far down the floor as AG is, but his lane is so open that if he gets the ball, that's going to be just like a semi-transition drive for a layup. Right? Because
Yeah,
at
just
this
throw it off
point,
to
Cody
him.
Williams is going to stop Jokic if Brice gets this ball. And then just kind of leave Filipowski to play 2-on-1 with Brice and Christian. So I just think that like a lot of people are like, well, he's just forcing things and it's like really high risk, high reward, because if AG gets that ball, like it's just like a drive and dunk. And I'm like, the relative benefit to throwing it to AG there versus Brice is like, if you don't if it doesn't get like intercepted, if it doesn't get stolen there, is so small that I don't understand Jokic kind of being obsessed with trying to make that home run play. Like it feels like a lot of that, where Jokic's trying to make like the most home run play to like create like the shortest possible possession. Yeah. So I didn't love that one. That was just one example. Like I said, he had 5 turnovers, and I think 4 of them were live ball turnovers in this game. He also had like a few really good outlet passes, but it was one of those things where I was just watching, and I think every single one of the live ball turnovers led to points on the other end for Utah. So they had at least 10 points off turnovers just from Jokic's turnovers, because some of them were definitely threes as well.
Yeah, his turnovers were so
Yeah.
weird, like because you feel like it's like one of these bad interceptions you see in the NFL where there's a guy right there and you don't get how he couldn't possibly see them. It was like he didn't think Sensabaugh could just turn around on that
right
one.
there. That's the thing with that one in particular. Like, I know you're trying to get it to AG, but even if it hadn't been stolen, it was probably going to get deflected.
Yeah. I don't know. Like Jokic obviously tries to push the pace. I don't, in these kind of games versus these teams that aren't as good, just get in transition, score easy points, and he's always looking to do that. And just some weird ones. And I think even after this play specifically, like he threw the inbounds pass in and they got intercepted.
Yes.
And they scored right away again.
That one.
And it was just like, oh my God, Jokic. It was like 2 in a row. It's like so weird.
Let's go to Jokic getting blocked. Because this was otherwise a really nice possession. I don't blame anyone on Denver for this. I thought this was just an impressive play by, I forget who does it. I think it's Filipowski, maybe.
Are you talking about Jamal getting blocked?
No, Jokic getting blocked.
I have the next one I have is Jamal getting blocked.
We could talk about that one too. So I think this one was a big one because it was at the end of the quarter, and like the shot clock wasn't turned off yet, so it was probably going to be like a shot clock. Well, yeah, basically was a shot clock violation, or would have been even if he hadn't gotten blocked. But Utah gets just a few extra seconds here, and it results in Ace getting an assist, just like an easy dump off pass for a layup on Utah to end the third quarter. So that was just another like conservatively a 2-point swing, because you could have said like, well, Jamal wasn't going to score there anyway because they had kind of like really boxed him in and he wasn't going to get a good shot off. But if you wanted to be generous, like that's a 4-point swing. So it's like, well, if Jamal had scored there, instead of it being like a block and run out situation, where Denver has a harder time defending, then we would have had the points, and Utah would have not gotten the points that they did at the end of that quarter. So that was just another 4-point swing.
Yeah, let me grab this clip.
Okay.
And then we can show the Jokic block. Yeah.
Is this the Jokic block?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So half court possession. I think Bruce eventually gives this to Julian while Jokic is still trailing. And then Jokic makes a nice face cut. So it was Ace Bailey who ends up blocking him here. You can just play it. Boom, gets blocked. Like misses that layup. That was an impressive play, I thought. And then Sheway just sets this
it's a dunk.
Just easy screen for a dunk in transition. And that's another 4 points. So there were so many of these where you're like, this game was so close to being like a 30-point blowout, actually, by like the end of the third quarter. And then just Utah made enough plays to keep it close for that long. Let's go to the putback, the Conchar putback.
Because I wanted to say though about the Jamal clip that we showed before this, the Jamal block, that we didn't see it in the clip, but I remember that play that he threw it to Jokic in the post, and Jokic just threw it right back to Jamal with the shot clock kind of winding down, and then Jamal was just trying to he was just dribbling around, and then found himself in the corner and didn't have really a good option at that point. And
I don't think he thought they were going to trap him in the corner, but that's just good defense in that situation, because you can use the baseline in the corner as a third defender, right?
Yeah. I just thought it was again a kind of strange Jokic game, and him just being like, you just do something, Jamal. Because he was having a great game, obviously, but yeah. Okay.
Maybe he wanted Jamal to throw something up there faster so that he could try to go for the offensive rebound. And then because the shot clock was running low, and maybe they could have saved for the last shot of the quarter. But another swing there. And yeah, John Conchar had 6 offensive rebounds in this game. It was really bad on Denver's part. So this was one, I think Ace Bailey misses this shot. It falls right to Conchar, and
God, so unlucky.
Jamal was not guarding anybody. He was not boxing out anybody here. He was kind of on Sheway, but then Jokic comes in, and I think that both Jokic and Jamal mess up here, because I think that Jamal just should have been the one boxing out Sheway, and Jokic should have been the one boxing out Conchar, just purely because of the positioning of those players. They didn't have an opportunity to switch. So they should have just stayed with whoever they were guarding. And at that point, because Jokic was trailing, he should have been on Conchar. Yeah, so that was 2-point swing, but it was one of those things where it's like, you should have gotten the stop. You got the missed shot, get the rebound. Go to to Brice for a drive. So this was another offensive rebound by John Conchar, another one of his 6. He ends up getting this offensive rebound here. This is a bad Val moment, because I thought he should have just been in better position to get that board. Honestly, that could have been an and one, but the refs were kind of like, everything is verticality today, so whatever.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't call it, but I was glad Val contested it, but it didn't work in our favor. Thank God they didn't call it.
Yeah, because that just would have been another and one. But Brice could have taken a 3 there, but he did a nice pump fake and drive in that situation. Just a lot of not forcing it basketball. I'm so annoyed at how I'm like, man, this kid is just playing smart basketball and he's not on my team. And I'm not coveting Brice Sensabaugh right now, but it feels weird to be in a position where I'm like, because I don't know. There aren't that many players on other teams that are impressing me for just their pure basketball soundness. Those players exist, but usually they also impress me because of the athletic things that they can do. Whereas Brice is kind of playing like Rui Hachimura, honestly, where it's just yep, he can kind of fit within the flow of any offense. Doesn't do anything particularly especially, but He's like a really good spotted player and can do some stuff off the ball. And maybe defensively might be have a little bit of Rui in him too, which is not necessarily the best. But that's
They should just put him
whatever.
on
It's
Jokic. They
interesting
would
to
have won
watch.
every game.
Oh yeah, true. And
All right,
then
we
just
made it.
we don't have the clip for this one, but the last one swing that I had here was the Julian offensive foul. It was kind of a weak whistle, like not a weak whistle. It was kind of a tough whistle because I don't think that Julian's the reason the guy went down, but on the replay you can see that he does get him in the head. So it wouldn't have been overturned. I did see some people telling me that should have been challenged. It wouldn't have been overturned because of that. And that would have been a really sweet drive and finish. I think it was in the fourth quarter by Julian, I think, to extend the lead to like 12 or 14 at that point. But then the points get erased because of the offensive foul. And then Filipowski hits a corner three on the other end. It was just another 5-point swing within this game, right? So those were the negative swings. What do you think of
We made it
there's
through.
a lot of what happens in these plays is like it's almost pure chance because of like the loose ball situation. You'll see that more in some of the positive swings that we're about to get into. But there are definitely some where it's like, man, could we just have like finished that play? And saved us like a little bit of heartache at the end of this game, and like saved the starters like a few minutes at the end of this game.
Yeah. It just hurts because when we are a team that is trying to outscore other teams and not just locking down on defense, these kinds of plays and the turnovers just hurt so much more because it's like we need to finish offensive possessions because that's like our whole thing. And it's just like a double swing, And so
yeah, it does feel like it hurts more, and those plays where it's like you finally got a miss and then you don't get the defensive rebound.
Yeah,
I hate those.
It just goes straight.
But this is one of the reasons that it's so important to be a balanced team, is because you don't want to have so much pressure on some of these moments because they can be 50-50. Like, you're not going to get every defensive rebound, right? And sometimes you're going to have nights where, man, every defensive rebound we miss turns into a kick out three that splashes. But that's the kind of pressure that you put on yourself as a team when you want to like play like not just offense first, but offense only for like large stretches. But you have to celebrate because they swept the Jazz season series for the second time in franchise history, and that doesn't happen even in years where the team is playing overall better on the season, right? All right, let's go to some of the positive swings because I wanted to talk about the players in this game and especially this month, or at least the last like 2 weeks, who have really stood out as being like guys that look ready to play in the playoffs. I'm going to skip a couple of these here. First one, Bruce gets a steal, and it wasn't in the highlights of the play-by-play because it doesn't result in a bucket. But Jamal gets fouled, gets free throws on that play. Great. That was pretty early in the game. Next one, if you could go to the Bruce steal and dunk. Boop.
Man, we were putting it on. He had
4 steals in this game.
Yeah, Bruce has been good lately. The chat was saying it. They were like, let's talk about Bruce.
Yeah.
Just a heads up,
I think all of them were just like bothering guys at the point of attack too. It wasn't all like opportunistic playing passing lanes type steals. These were like steals that he like worked for in this game. And I'm happy. I was happy to see that somebody came ready to like work in this game and expend energy. Claw World says Denver fans finally seeing that Cam Johnson is a demon. He has amazing analytics and is a low mistake player and does what needs to be done for winning. Cam Johnson has been a lot better lately, and I'm going to have some more clips of him in this compilation as well. And Cam has maybe been our most consistent defender too. I completely agree, and that's a problem. Not because Cam is bad, but you don't want him to be your best, most consistent defender.
Yeah. Chat is just,
Oh,
we're all talking. They're talking about DA not playing some of the younger guys like Strother and Duran in this season, and
oh, he's
wishing that they
somebody
could
who
have
got to
developed
play in this
more.
game
And
because Peyton went out.
did Duran not play in non-garbage time minutes? Did I miss that?
In non-garbage time? No, he didn't play
Yeah.
in non-garbage
Yeah.
time.
Okay. I think he would have played regardless, though,
Why?
because we were just up at the end and just put him in.
Oh, yeah, I think he played in garbage time.
That's what I mean.
You said non-garbage time.
I said, did he play in non-garbage time minutes? Duran.
No.
So why are you saying he winning because Piwa got hurt?
No, I said Julian is somebody who got to
Julian.
play
Sorry.
because people got
Yes,
hurt. Yeah.
Julian did play. Yes, and he had that great pass to Jokic. We saw that he just got blocked. But
Yeah.
yeah, Strother's been
Julian's
good.
been
Like,
really comfortable within the offense lately. And by the way, checked his on-off. He's a 0. So not negative.
mm-hmm.
Which is impressive considering he he's not always playing with like the best players when you think about it. All right, let's go to the next Bruce steal. So I think this one is the one. Oh, I didn't include the Jamal 3 here, but they turn the ball over here. Spoiler alert. Val just kind of loses it. And then Bruce bothers Conchar enough. I'm like, we needed something to counter John Conchar's inner Derek White in this game, because I was very annoyed with how many just loose ball impact plays that he was making in this game. So I appreciated Bruce making this. Denver was able to reset a little bit after this, and then Jamal gets a 3. So that's a pretty big swing, because it was probably going to be conservatively probably a point to a point and a half on average going the other way for Utah. But based on how the night was going, it was going to be a guaranteed 2 points in transition. And we turned it into retaking control of that possession, and then Jamal getting a 3. And then if you could skip all the way to the Bruce transition layup just to finish up the Bruce stuff for this game. Just what I would like to see Christian doing. Because here, this is the kind of transition play where Christian doesn't necessarily get all the way to the basket, because he's like, there's guys in front of me and I don't want to dribble and change direction if I can help it. So I'm just going to reset here. And Bruce just cuts through the the obvious seam. I'm not talking about situations where Christian is super crowded. I'm talking about situations where the seam is there, but you kind of have to make a move to exploit it. He made those plays throughout this game. His transition finishing especially has gotten so much better since February. Bruce's has.
Definitely. I was saying in the chat that he has been getting blocked at the rim kind of throughout the season a little too much, even though we get fouls out of it. And that happened last night too, but it was a foul. But he has been better for sure. Yeah, and chemistry, bringing up his 3-point shot as well. He had a really good stretch at 3-point percentage makes. Yeah.
That release is so slow though.
He just needs to be wide open. Although he took some contested.
I feel like teams are probably going to catch on that we should just late contest or something.
Yeah, could be.
But who knows? All right, let's talk about Cam Johnson last year, or almost last. So let's go to the Cam steal, Cam/CB steal. I wasn't sure who this got attributed to, and it ended up being Cam Johnson, to a transition dunk for Cam. Steals are such an easy way to make a positive or create a positive swing possession. Just pokes the ball away, as Cam has been really good at doing throughout the season, and then gets all the way to the rim. That's something I've really appreciated about Cam in transition that has surprised me. Actually, it's sort of contrary to how other parts of his game have been throughout the season, where he has been a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more kind of circumspect, which is great, but not necessarily on the court in the middle of the game with his decision making. is when he's getting trailed in transition, he really tries to get in front of the guy and like make that play himself. Instead of risking sometimes a turnover by passing back to a guy. When they're open, like immediately, Cam is good at passing to guys in transition. So I don't want to make it sound like he never does that. But it surprises me the number of times that he like kind of keeps it for himself and goes all the way to the rim for the dunk. Because I wouldn't have thought of him as that kind of like transition player. And it's not like it's super frequent. Like when he is in transition, that's not always what he does. But I'm surprised at how often he does it anyway. Maybe that's just my perception of Cam thing, but yeah, like chemistry says, doesn't care about the flash, just get the 2 points. Completely agree. And I hope Peyton is taking some of that to heart also. All right, let's go to the Cam drive and dunk. So this is off a long rebound here. So who misses this shot? So AG misses this 3, trying to hit a movement 3 here. Drives all the way past Pilipowski and again gets all the way to the rim for the dunk. Those always surprise me.
That's crazy.
Because he's such an under the rim player a lot of the time, and like that's when his layups get blocked. But when he goes all the way for the dunk, I feel like it surprises the opponent too, because he usually
that was very decisive to just to know he should attack that closeout and not just like shoot it with that coming. And it was, I don't even know if he knew it would be that wide open going inside, but with Jokic in there, everyone's going to stay home on him anyway.
The thing that stands out about some of these possessions too, especially there's a couple of different kinds of positive swings, right? Like you could get a steal, you could get like just a really good stop that leads to like a steal, like run out from the whole team and advantage on the other end. It could be an offensive rebound that gives you another chance on a possession. The thing that I have been watching for whenever the team gets an offensive rebound is how are these players that are on the floor right now thinking about this possession? Are they thinking, well, we got another chance, we're going to go for the high risk, high reward shot because why not? It's just an extra opportunity. And sometimes, especially when it's Jokic, AG, or Jamal, that's been a lot more their thinking, it feels like, where they're like, I'll just take the 3. Or I'll pass to the guy that's open for 3 and we'll just like take a 3. We might get it, which would be great. We might not. But that's also fine because they kind of see the offensive rebound as an opportunity for a cherry on top. Whereas Cam, Christian, sometimes Brice is somebody that seems to oscillate in these situations, depending on maybe who else is on the floor. But especially Cam and Christian are like, let's reset, run the offense, give us the highest opportunity to get like a definite shot, try to get like a layup or like a short 2 from like one of our best players. In this case, Cam was like, I see the drive in front of me. I'm going to go. I think I could be the one to get that guaranteed bucket. But that's always interesting to me, is like, what does the team do when they get the offensive rebound, or what does the player who gets it, but also like, how do they work with the guys that are on the floor to kind of decide what they're going to do on that possession? And especially when you're kind of going for like the high risk, high reward thing, the 3, you kind of have to make that decision very quickly because often the defense will be scrambling to just rematch up with guys and try to prevent that. So if you're gonna just do the like kick out to 3 and like kind of wing it there, you have to make that decision very quickly in that moment. Whereas if you're going to reset and like do the thing, you obviously have more time to make that decision. Yeah. Like chemistry, I feel like Jokic has got less offensive rebounds off his own shots this season than last season. Completely agree. Jokic has been I can actually tell you where he is in offensive rebound. I think he was near the top of the league in offensive rebounding talent for his position last year. This season, I can tell you for centers, he's closer to like slightly above league average for offensive rebounds. Not just, and last year it wasn't just his own misses. He was getting offensive rebounds on other people's misses a lot too, and that was a big part of our offense. Maybe that should give people some comfort because we're not as dependent on kind of winning the glass in order for our offense to be as explosive as it is. But it's also just another dimension that you could just seen a slight decline in this season compared to last. Let's go then to the Cam assist on Jamal. So this was nice because I like how Cam like secures this loose ball. Although Sensabaugh didn't fight as hard for it as I thought he did. It's one of those things where you're like, well, Sensabaugh, all those good offensive things, but maybe he'll be a little bit more of a hustle player. I think that should have been an and one also, but the refs were saying everything was verticality in this game for both teams. I will say.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh man, Cam just seems light on his feet in these plays, like even on that drive and there, and just moving easy. And not to compare to Mike, but I can just imagine Mike like driving it in from the 3-point line and doing like that slow Euro step finish, which just takes time, and he can do that. But
his layups don't get blocked as often, to be fair.
Yeah, there's advantages to Mike and his length and his release and all that. Yeah. But this is just it's a difference to what he can bring. So it's always nice.
Let's go to the Cam assist to Jokic for a floater. So this was another one. Offensive rebound. He gets his own miss here. Gets the ball to Jokic for the floater here.
Jokic making that is so ridiculous too, though. But you know, it's Jokic.
Yeah.
It was an and one. Yeah. Right.
Yep. And one.
I don't see Jokic get that a lot, I feel like, but
nope, he doesn't. Okay, and then the last one I've got here is the Jamal block or tip, or I think he kind of like blocks this off Sensabaugh. I think Sensabaugh wanted a call there, and I'm like, for what, dude? And then this turns into a fast break between Christian, and Brice ends up getting this contested layup. That could have been and one also. Everything was verticality. I'm telling you, like that was the refs were actually pretty consistent about that in this game. They were like, nope, whatever.
Brice was so mad, and he even made a layup on one where he wanted an and one, and just they called a timeout, and he just stared the ref down on the court. He didn't even go to the huddle. He just stayed on the court looking at the ref.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
These guys.
Okay, there you go. Brice finishing mature again.
So the reason I wanted to also highlight some of these positive swing plays, and especially possessions that were like steals, offensive rebounds, it's just like the things that give you an extra possession and can turn turn it from an opportunity where you're not getting any points to an opportunity where you're getting points or keeping points away from the other team, right? Is to prove that we have guys on this team that make plays, that seem ready for the postseason to make these plays. I had a clip on here about the Peyton putback. That was an impressive, like, kind of tip rebound from Jokic. And Peyton has made plays in other games. I think that he's ready to make plays in the postseason, but the question is, how consistently is he going to do that? Is he going to be like a factor, or at least like a 10% factor? Maybe that's too much for a bench player, because I think in the NBA, it's usually going to be a couple guys. Are you ready to be like a 7% factor in the game in 80% of games? I don't know that he's there yet with his consistency, but I feel like Cam and Brice are. Like these are the guys that made me feel the best about that over the last few games. Depending on the series, though, I could see it with Cam it being closer to like 60% of games. Just because I still have questions about how he handles certain types of physicality. But I do think that the overall decisiveness has been well improved. But Brice is like just for sure like ready for the playoffs. And the questions are like health. And like, how are Jokic and Jamal going to do when we get into the playoffs, which is not a question that you want to be asking with this team that has been so dependent on your best players kind of being transcendent in the postseason. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that this year, especially because a lot of like with Jamal, like his was being transcendent almost relative to himself. but he's already been so good this year. I don't know how much more you can expect of him, especially in situations where he is going to garner a lot more attention because of how good he's been this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. They always say, your team needs to be getting hot at the right time. The playoffs is a long time though, like it's like months. So it's a grind, and anything can happen, along the line. But Jamal is playing his best basketball right now. Jokic is playing like in an unserious way a little bit. Like his numbers are so good, triple doubles last night. It looked like he was unfocused and kind of over the season. And I get why fans are skeptical of how that's going to look. But I have confidence that Jokic and Murray are going to look really good in the playoffs. I'm not worried about them at all. I'm more worried about health, and that's with everyone on the team, just because like it feels like everyone's been hurt, and we've just been waiting for the timing to be right in terms of health and playing our best basketball, and it kind of is trending that way. Although there's still nagging injuries here and there, so we're not in the clear with that yet. Guys are going to be playing in the playoffs regardless of if they have little tweaks too, which it sucks, but everyone does that, and you hope they don't get worse. But there's definitely potential that everyone's kind of getting right now. Like you're saying, Bruce. And I think once P. Watt's hamstring settles down, he may not be like as transcendent as everyone wants him to be when he was like Western Conference Player of the Week, where he's scoring 30 points because you have other high usage dudes out there. But I think what he will bring will be really good and like solid, and he'll provide that next to like really productive guys in the starting units and coming in off the bench and such. And it's just a question of who else can really start put it together and playing their best basketball. I have concerns about CB and all that, and we're gonna talk about playoff scenarios, I guess. So I guess we could lead into that unless you have anything else to say.
Um, I thought I had something else to say, but I lost it.
It's all right. Let's just
no,
go.
let's lead into the playoff scenarios, because I want to talk about the consequences of the postseason this year. And I've listed out a couple of different scenarios where we didn't talk about this in like the news segment or anything, but Denver has clinched a spot in the playoffs for the 8th consecutive season. So they are going to be top 6 in the West. The question is where, at this point with a few games left in the season, just because of their tiebreaker situation with other teams, and where everybody's records are going to shake out. But they're definitely going to be in the playoffs. So there's like a more finite realm of possibilities because of that made this possible, because we don't have to talk about like the 12 different ways that Denver could finish the postseason. But I want to talk about a couple of these different playoff scenarios. We're going to work our way from some of the worst ones to the best one, obviously being winning a championship. Just to ask, if this is where Denver goes out, who gets traded and who gets fired, if anybody, in these situations? So we're going
Oh
to work our
boy.
way up. The first one, and I went on likeliness here, is a first round exit to the Lakers or Minnesota. And I did not include the Rockets in this, because if Denver lost in the first round to the Rockets, who are still in the running for potentially being in the 5 seed, or I guess there's a world maybe where they play each other in like the 6-3, but that's becoming increasingly less likely with every passing game that the Lakers win.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Will, which would be worse as a fan? Is a
I
first
mean,
round exit to the Lakers or a first round exit to Minnesota?
it would be the Lakers for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just because we always have their number in a way, and they did add Luca, and it does provide some problems in terms of Reeves and Luca for sure. Like we're already struggle with high scoring guards, of course, but they don't have a great center unit. They just got Ayton and
Jackson
Hayes, and it's like we should be able to dominate that matchup with Jokic being our starting center. And just with it being the Lakers, and it would hurt losing to Minnesota because we haven't got that monkey off our back since we've been losing to them in recent years. But
I don't know. Well, they've struggled with small ball this year, and you could see JJ Redick just being like, I'm not going to play Ayton or Hayes. That's what he tried against Minnesota last year.
Yeah. I still think, Minnesota just provides that they have more athleticism and defenders that we struggle with, and the Lakers just don't. And I just feel like it would be so much more embarrassing to lose to the Lakers. But yeah.
So RX Smart says he thinks that nobody gets traded, in my opinion, or fired. We run it back because of all the injuries. I do think that probably nobody gets fired because the only person who'd probably get fired is the head coach and maybe like their whole staff if they decide to clear things out again. I don't think that they do that because they're still paying Malone and they don't want to pay a third coach. They're like, we're not the Milwaukee Bucks over here. Who I think are
not going to
still
get fired.
Oh, they're not paying Bud still because Phoenix had hired Bud. But if he hadn't been, they would still be paying him and Doc and Adrian Griffin right now.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be fired. I don't think Adam will be fired in the summer. But I guess maybe the training staff. Probably not.
Yeah. What would it take to get Adelman fired? Probably nothing at this point.
I think some weird bad stretch next season in the middle of the season or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Nothing that could happen between now and the summer.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like barring like I don't know, he like gets into it with a player or something.
If we get swept in the first round, could he be fired after the season? That's impossible. There's no way we get swept in the first round. But
his team doesn't get swept. That's the thing. Like if last year's team didn't get swept by OKC. Could you imagine getting swept by the Lakers in the first round?
It's just no way.
Like, I actually can't even fathom it. I could imagine them losing and being like devastated by it, but I can't imagine them getting swept. Especially like this Lakers team doesn't have like sweeping somebody in them.
Dahlia says if Jokic says Adelman needs to go, he will be gone. And that is true.
Jokic isn't going to say
I don't know if he'll say it or not.
He won't. Okay, so first round exit to LA or Minnesota. Probably nobody gets fired. Does somebody get traded? Because at that point, you're talking about a first round exit. I know RX Smart says he doesn't think anybody gets traded, but let's remind the people what kind of situation the team is in heading into the summer. Peyton is up for extension. Tim is... some people think that Tim would come back, but I just think that Tim is probably going to get a little bit more than a minimum somewhere, and the minimum is all Denver's willing to give him. They are, even without paying Peyton, probably going to be well over a first apron team and trying to figure out how to deal with things to stay under the second apron. If they do pay Peyton, there's almost no way to stay under the separate apron if they pay Peyton without trading a starter. If you did lose in, say, 5, which this team never does, unless it's like against Golden State when 2 of your starters are out for that season. If you lost in 5 to, let's say, Minnesota, who, like, I think the Lakers are a worse team, but Minnesota is potentially more injured. Ant kind of coming back from this like knee soreness, knee swelling situation. Jaden McDaniels kind of out indefinitely with his bruised knee, or knee bruise, whatever situation, similar injury as reported to Jokic. Ray says sign and trade Peyton is the most likelihood. What are they taking back in that situation? Dahlia says, why can't we get rid of CB? Dahlia, they just signed Christian to a 5-year extension.
So no
If
one will
Denver
want to
doesn't
trade
want
for
him,
it.
nobody else is going to want him either. So that's why.
It's painful. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, Bill Simmons is on his podcast talking about worse contracts and throwing CB in there, and I don't think his contract's like as bad as
It's just so
that.
long.
Yeah, it's just it is long, and I get why it looks ugly and fans would want to trade him. And yeah, I mean, I kind of be in that boat too, where it's like we don't win, we lose in the first round. Obviously, all this depends on how it actually goes down. Like if CB was like the clear culprit and it's like couldn't make any shot, and defenders
If
are going to help
Christian
off him
Braun,
and all
here's the
that.
thing. If Christian Braun is the clear culprit, quote unquote, to Denver losing in the postseason, then something happened with Adelman. Because if Christian's playing that badly, he needs to get benched.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Just take him out at
Like
that
Christian's
point.
not a player that like has to be on the floor,
Yeah, that's true.
even if he's playing poorly. Right?
Yeah. Because you could, and then if it's something where it's like AG gets hurt or P1 still hurt or who knows, I could see a trade of maybe Cam or something just to like get off a contract. I don't know. I'm afraid of AG.
I think that's funny because you're like, well, if AG or Peyton gets hurt, then they'd have to
Yeah.
trade Cam.
Cam, yeah. Just because they're gonna like if we lose, they might be early. I feel like they're more likely to say, "Hey, we're kind of far away. We might have to like take a step back here and evaluate the talent and all that." And so it's like, why are we keeping Cam? We can trade him now. Maybe they'll trade AG. I would hate to see it. I want AG to be on the team for a long time, and I just want his health to get better, and I want to get more depth at his position. The chat was talking earlier how much they'd hate to see AG on other teams, of course, but with his injury and his people are getting older, it's like, would it shock me? Probably not. I would be devastated though, without a doubt.
His
So yeah, it's
contract's
like
going up next year. He's currently
if
on the
we
player option year of his last contract, and next year his new extension like fully kicks in.
Mhm.
And I do think that like that's the elephant in the room, especially if he can't stay like substantially healthy throughout a postseason run for the second year in a row. And like last year, it wasn't the weird thing about last year. It wasn't really AG in the postseason that was the problem. Although he did get injured for a game 7, like that the very last game, like at the end of the game 6. But he was otherwise healthy that postseason. But he was like injured for a substantial period of the regular season before that, and again this year, right? So then the question becomes like, is this just how it's going to be moving forward? And if so, like, that's not tenable for someone at his position with the contract that he has for like a team in Denver situation anyway. But you're like, well, I don't know. Can this get better or not?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, the league's getting younger. People are bringing that up. It's an interesting point. It's like AG's not that old, but he's not young either. And he has a lot of miles and he's got a lot of injuries. It sucks to see. And it's like if he has a hamstring injury every season, and it's like we're very tied to him being on the floor for our defense and spacing and just like athleticism and playing with Jokic and being a lob threat, it would really suck to lose him. And people bringing up maybe trading Jamal, I don't think that happens. Would they sell high on Jamal? That would be interesting. It would be super sad too. It's like he's finally doing what everyone's wanting him to do, but because we're just not getting there, decide to pull the plug on Jokic and Jamal.
I wonder if Jamal underperforms in the postseason, if that could be something that they consider. But I don't think that they would think about selling high on Jamal because this team doesn't sell high on anybody. When's the last time that they did that? Besides RJ Hampton.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Yeah, we never sell high. Thankfully, I guess we sold high on RJ Hampton and low on Gary, but we still got AG. So that was like the greatest trade ever. I think it was the anniversary, like just the other day.
Did you sell low on Gary though?
Yes.
Well, relative to like the before. Yeah.
Yeah, like he got way worse after that, but he was on the decline, and people were sad about that. I was fully ready to trade Gary Harris, and I was like praying we got AG, and we did.
I wish we hadn't killed him in the meantime.
Yes. Yeah, Jokic, I don't think you'd want to trade Jamal. Kroenke vetoed to trade for Jamal when Calvin Booth brought it up. So
well,
the
they
front
vetoed
office,
trades for Michael Porter Jr. also, but then eventually traded him.
Yeah, that one was more obvious. Jamal would just be so shocking, but you would probably be able to get something better for him. Like that would, that's the best kind of trade piece. Everyone else is a little more. It's just like kind of getting off of the salary and hoping someone good is coming back. But yeah. I don't think Jamal's
I think it'd be a lot more about
scenario.
getting off the salary than anything.
Yeah. So I would say, like, man, it's just so hard because I just feel like Cam is. I love Cam, and I don't think we should trade him, but it's like the easiest contract to move off of.
And now that he's playing better, it's no longer like a. I mean, it wouldn't have been an albatross anyway. He's going to be on an expiring contract next year. So even if they don't trade him in the summer, they could potentially trade him at the trade deadline, probably pretty easily. I would think, because he's someone that fits on a lot of teams.
Yeah, I hate to say, if we lose in the first round of Minnesota, like maybe AG is gone. What do you think?
I mean, sure. Dahlia says they'd be nuts to move off of Peyton. I mean, yeah. Our experience is that you could see AG and Peyton both gone. I don't see that happening because if AG is gone, they're clearing enough money to pay Peyton match whatever another team is willing to pay. So
yeah,
I don't see many situations where two of Cam, Peyton, and AG are both gone.
Yeah, I think it's just
if you move off of either Cam or AG, you're clearing up room under the second apron to pay Peyton, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's just them deciding which contract they're giving up. And I feel like they're going to be so high on Peyton that they'd rather just pay him and move off of Cam. Like, I just feel like that's more where they would go. But
yeah, Cam's turning 30
they can trade
next
CB
year,
whenever.
too.
They can trade CB whenever.
Well, they can't because he's on a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
When they can trade CB is whenever somebody wants him. Yeah. And wants his contract, I should say.
But he plays so good without Jokic, as you just said, even though the numbers don't say that.
It was just a 1/4 sample size.
That's enough for these. No, I'm kidding. But yeah.
No, that's the tape that's the tape that you're sending out to other teams.
Yeah.
Like, look at what this guy can do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so young, and you've got him locked up for, like, he's going to be the next Jimmy Butler. All right, so that's the first round exit. And that is, these are some of the worst case scenarios, right? And we've already talked about the possibility of, like, kind of no matter what happens, there could be some changes this summer, depending on, like, anything short of a title. The next two situations we can talk about together, which is a second round exit. And here I've got to either OKC or San Antonio, and this is all predicated on the Lakers keeping that 3 seed. So this is all based on, like, the probable playoff seeding situations. So that means that we would end up playing, if we made the second round, either OKC or San Antonio as the 4 or 5 seed. I didn't actually put this down, but there is still a situation where, like, you fall down to the 6 seed and then play the Lakers in round 1. But I guess that's a first round exit. That's where that counts as a first round exit to either LA or Minnesota. But yeah, well, when it comes to a second round exit to OKC or San Antonio, does losing in 7 games to either of those teams make you feel better? Does losing to either of those teams in 7 games sound better than what your median outcome for this team is in the playoffs? Like, what you think is going to happen? is it better or worse than losing to OKC or San Antonio in 7 games?
Like what I think right in this moment, or like even before the
Yeah. So I guess
season.
I should ask first, gun to your head, what do you think happens to Denver in the playoffs? How do they go out?
Yeah, I
Or
feel like
win?
it's look. I feel like in my head says probably
Which
losing to
round? How
OKC
many
in the
games?
second round. Losing to
Lose to
OKC
OKC
in
in
the
the second
second
round?
round
How many games?
in 6 or 7.
Okay, so basically, that's basically your median outcome, right? So second round exit to OKC or San Antonio is still like possible, because we
Yeah.
don't know, San Antonio could catch up to OKC for that 1 seed. Um, if that happens, would you want to make any changes to the team or the organization?
Yeah, it's like on the one hand, you're competitive against one of the best teams. Yeah, you didn't make the Western Conference Final, but you lost to likely the champion. Like if it's not OKC or the Spurs, I mean, maybe like the Celtics or something. I doubt it. I feel like whoever comes out of the West is going to win the championship. So it's kind of like last year. We lose to 7 to the eventual champion, and you feel good about it. You add a couple pieces, and you think, hey, we're right there. We're going to win the championship, just like I thought in the offseason. Then you see the season play out, and there's injuries, and some people aren't playing as well as you thought, and the other teams are getting better. So I wouldn't want to just do it again. I don't know. It's tough because there's not a lot of options. Can't just because like the clear one, yeah, everyone's bringing up trade CV.
Well,
But
that's
it's not
not
going
an
to
option.
happen.
So people need to
Yeah.
get that out of their minds. It's not an option. It's not happening.
So it's like, I guess run it back, and hope for better injury help, but add, you don't have Val anymore because I just don't think we're going to retain him. And you try to get it forward and go back at it again. But I wonder if that's not enough. It's like, I'd rather get something that's going to get us over the hump. And is it too complacent to say, oh, we were competitive against these bad teams, so let's just do the same thing with the same guys, and then the same thing happens again the next season? You lose to the Spurs or OKC, who I still think is going to be getting better every year. Like at some point, we might have to shift and just be like, we have to get serious talent in to compete with how good the West is. So I'd rather make a change. I just don't know what it
Defensive
is.
talent this time, though.
Yeah, defensive talent.
So one trade that I've been throwing around for the last, I don't know, 15 hours is I don't even know if the money works on this, but I've been thinking about a framework. That's why there's a lot of pressure this season. That might be the only year Denver has left of real competition. Yes. But I've been throwing around a framework of trading, using Cam as sweetener for a Zeke salary dump. And then that would help clear up some money to pay Peyton, but also trading it for like a Gafford or Lively. Obviously, two very different like calibers of player there, but very different health records as well. You probably have to include a pick in that, but I don't know. I don't know what Dallas is doing these days. But that
Yeah.
would clear up about, let's say if it was Lively, I think he's only making like 6 or 7 million this year. So you'd clear up another 22 million below the second apron to pay Peyton and then try to fill out the roster, move Cam to a different situation and kind of do all that. I don't know why Dallas would necessarily go for that, but just an idea. Like, what do you think of the idea of trading Zeke and Cam for insert forward big and then also clearing up money to pay Peyton in the process?
I mean, how good at defense are these dudes?
Like if it's Lively, like that's the kind of like caliber of guy I'm thinking of. I'm not looking for another wing because you're like, we have to like clear up as much kind of opportunity for Peyton to kind of be that guy as possible. And I'm not gonna, if I'm going to get another wing in that archetype, I'll just draft another one so that I don't have to pay a lot of money toward the cap for someone like that. Try to get some kind of inject some more youth into that position. Maybe look for like a bigger wing in the draft even, because like a bigger wing forward type, maybe get lucky like they did with Spencer.
Yeah. And Lively would play what, like
he could play with Jokic, he could play without Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Lively can short roll, Lively can lob, like he can play the dunker. Like on this team, I don't think that his like being like really like in essence a pure center really matters, because Jokic can like do whatever. And Lively's also switchable, so he can guard fours on the perimeter. That's not really a problem.
But what would you do with AG in that scenario? Just like switch them up, play them.
Oh, well, Lively's like primarily playing off the bench, but he could play a lot, and also like it means we could spare AG and hit like AG's body. And Lively's also somebody who's injured a lot too, so I'm not going to be holding out a spot for him. You know, like I'm not going to be like reserving minutes for Lively. If that makes sense.
It's interesting. I mean, if the front office felt like that was the direction they wanted to go, I'd be interested to see it. I still want I want more like wings who defend than like a tall 4 or 5. You know, I just want like a bunch of strong ass wings around Jokic, like 4 AGs around Jokic.
So like who? Who are the names? Like who are the archetypes you're thinking of? Even if it's like a player that makes too much money, just so I have an understanding of where you're going.
Like anyone on OKC. You know, that's not Chet. Like
they're J-Dub, but they're not big. So like
they're like thick though. They're like thick,
okay.
like J-Dub and Dort and like a Jaylen Brown type body. Those kinds of guys where it's like they could guard up and down a little bit.
I don't know who else on that. Who could be available? Aubin Thompson? He's not actually available, but
he might be with the Rockets.
I don't think Houston is going to like sell low on him because he's not had a great year. But
Herb Jones.
If there was ever maybe a star, I don't think Detroit's. Man, if they had a bad year, maybe. But
yeah.
DFS is terrible. Like chemistry, he's done. We're not doing that.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't work at all on Tari Eason. That'd be cool. I just want like more athletic, strong dudes who can play defense.
Josh Okogie. What is Josh Okogie even making? Isn't he on the minimum? Like, can we just sign him? Let me see here. Yeah, he's on a minimum. Like, that's not somebody you have to trade for. Or should have to trade for. So.
Like, I wish we had Alex Caruso, for example.
I don't know how. Okay, so I do know that they probably like this player more than they'd like our player. But if there was an opportunity to put together a trade package that was like Christian and stuff for Jabari Smith Jr., you'd probably jump on that, right?
Jabari Smith, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Is that like also like kind of? He's not like Dort or like Jada, but he's like a bigger wing. I'm just like trying to think of like names that are like closer to being available than the ones that you've listed.
I know. Well, yeah, that's the thing is like who is actually available and how do you get them and all that. But just it's like the idea that Claw World brought up earlier, where it's like I want to get. I don't know if I brought this up on the stream, but yeah, surrounding more with Jokic with defenders, Jamal and Jokic with more defensive minded people, and maybe the offense takes a hit, but you let Jamal and Jokic carry the offense a little bit more. I mean, they carry the offense anyway, but you know,
I don't know how much more they can carry the offense.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to carry it to the number 1 offense in the league that it is now. But let's say you have a top 5 offense, and you just bring up the floor of the defense a bit with the personnel. And
I think the floor of the defense also depends on those guys not being turnstiles, though. So
let's hope, yeah. But I also just like imagine how much easier it would be for them, though. Like it's like it's like with Shea, the rest of the team defends a bunch and gets a bunch of turnovers and shit, and he just goes down and hits his little shots.
Yeah, if you want to get guys that like force more turnovers, I'd be for that.
There we go.
Yeah, it's an interesting quandary. There just aren't a lot of those guys that I can see other teams being willing to part with. If Jamal and Jokic had the Knicks defenders are, I mean, Josh Hart, he's better than Christian is now, but he's not better than Christian should be.
All right. Well, let's
OG
just say
obviously is who he is, but I mean, Mikal Bridges is like depends on the night. Yeah, OG is a game changer, like DPOY caliber. If he could stay on the floor long enough, he'd get top 3 in that ballot one of these years, but he can't.
well, let's just say if we lose in the second
Yeah.
round to Spurs or OKC, how would you feel? Would you think the team needs to make a bigger change or just kind of make a move to, because if you're trading Cam, essentially, I feel like it's more of a trying to bring in like a defensive specialist or something. But
Not really. If I'm trading Cam, it's mostly to try clear salary to pay Peyton.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm trading AG or even Jamal, theoretically, I don't think they're going to do that. That's when it's like, okay, we're completely retooling and we need to bring in something like that we're specifically targeting for like the next iteration of this team. If you're just trading Cam, then it's really just clearing money. And my ideal kind of iteration of that would include Zeke in the package to clear out even more space, to give them even more flexibility. Not just to duck the tax so we don't have to like keep having that conversation. But to also retool other aspects of the roster that have just been like stuck because it's like, well, this is all we got in terms of like cap space and not even cap space, apron space, right? I mean, if it were me, I would take a look at coaching depending on what happened in the playoffs. Through the regular season, I'm quite underwhelmed, but I'm leaving room for some of the good things that have happened in the regular season to sort of pay off in the playoffs, whether it results in a title or not. But I know they're not going to do anything about that. Jared Dudley rating. Ooh boy. Ryan Saunders. Some people owe you an apology.
Yeah.
Someone said minus 500. That's funny. So I don't know. I think that there are certain things that you can blame him for. It's not that they've lacked defensive creativity. They've tried lots of different things this year. I do think, and I don't know where the balance is between defensive coordinator and coach on this. One of the things I have not been impressed with this season is how frequently they're willing to abandon certain coverages and schemes because they're not going well in favor of just trying something different that also doesn't go well, instead of kind of forcing the players to figure out how to execute something correctly. And I don't know if that's GA or if that's Dudley. The other thing I'm not impressed with is there has to be a way for this team to force more turnovers than they're forcing. They can't be dead last. I'm not asking them to be top 10 or even top half, but they can't be dead last in forcing turnovers. It's just it puts too much pressure on the offense. And yeah,
I'm kind of surprised as we're going through this how they're not all that different, like losing in each round.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the same options.
I think that that's how you feel when you kind of understand your team. Where you're like, I don't know exactly, like if they don't win the title this year, I don't know exactly how they'll go out, but I have an idea of what's going to happen and of what it's going to look like, I think. And this is what I would like to do to address it. Actually, in reference to that, Is there any way that the Nuggets could lose in the playoffs that would just surprise you utterly?
I mean, the most surprising would be, like the first round exit, I think.
Right. I mean like the reason that they lose
Mm.
any
Oh,
round,
okay. It would be
like the
Jokic
mechanism.
playing like so bad and the turnovers persisting to a point to where it was just like, like he has those games where even if he has a triple double or whatever, the turnovers are so high and it's just not a typical Jokic game to where you're like, that was a bad Jokic game for his standard. Because I just feel like he turns it on in the playoffs, and I expect he will. And I don't think the
Mhm.
turnovers are going to continue. That'd be the most surprising one, is like Jokic being like the reason.
I implore you to look at what Jokic was doing in that first round series against the Lakers 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, there are times where he looks like ineffective in a way, even against the Wolves in the series, where you're like, damn, like he can't do anything because he's gassed and he can't just drive to the rim versus these athletic big bodies, and then you need another guy to take the load off of him. And I feel like we kind of have that this season, at least with Jamal and such. But yeah, like if he looks like gassed and he's just like trying and nothing's working, I'll be like, yeah, that can happen because it's the Nuggets. But if it's like he's just making stupid mistakes and we're losing, that's when I would be more surprised.
Again, I would look to that first round series against the Lakers a couple years ago for examples of that. I don't think
Yeah.
that would surprise me because that would be something that we saw. And that's the thing with this season is they've lost so many different ways that I'm not sure there's any one that could surprise me. Like I could see Jokic being the problem. I could see Jamal being the problem. I could see role players being the problem. I could see shooting being the problem. I could definitely see defense being the problem. I could see injuries being the problem. So there's no I don't think that there's a way that they could be eliminated from the playoffs that would surprise me to the degree that I'm like, wow, I completely didn't see that coming. There are definitely ways that would shock me because it's like, okay, that's on the outlier in terms of probabilities. Like I'd be surprised if they got swept by anybody at this point. Um
Yeah, I wouldn't be
just
surprised
because they
either.
hang around like cockroaches
Yeah.
in games and in series, even when you don't think that they're playing well at all. Um yeah, but there's no thing that I think could happen this playoffs that would be like, well, that was out of nowhere. I might be surprised in the moment, but I wouldn't be like, wow, I hadn't considered that as a possibility, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to think of a scenario because we've seen it all yeah.
I agree with Dahlia here. At this point, I'd be more shocked by their wins than their losses.
Yeah, like if
I
we
think
beat
that's right.
OKC, I'd be more surprised. But it can happen. I'm not giving up. Like
Yeah,
we still have a chance.
I could see that happen. Honestly, I think I'm more scared of them making the finals than not because I don't think that they play these East teams well. And
We we don't
yeah.
like the top of the East. Yeah.
Yeah, the top. I mean, if
Yeah.
it was like the Pistons, I'm like, you guys better win the finals here.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the We Believe Hornets made it all the way to the finals and Denver lost, at first of all, I could see that because this Hornets team is like weird and stupid. Um, well, I could see Denver losing to them. I can't see them making the finals. That's the crazy thing. But yeah, the Knicks or the Cavs, although, yeah, like I think both are terrible matchups for Denver. I don't think they lose in 5, though. I think it goes at least 6.
Yeah.
Boston match up with pretty
Boston,
well. I don't know. Like, sure. I used to think that.
I don't know.
I used to
That's
think
just the
that when I
thing
thought that
is
Christian Brown could guard isolation, but
I'm just assuming everyone on the Nuggets is going to play well in the playoffs. I mean, not everyone, but
if they do, then they
Jamal,
should
the
win
the
because this
important
team is
guys.
insanely talented
Yeah.
on
But
offense.
I feel like we played a pretty good series versus OKC and we just couldn't hit the shots to really close them out. And like when we were up in the
KC just couldn't
series,
make threes. Will, like, that's what happened. Like,
yeah, and we couldn't either.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. This series is just going to be a series of shootouts.
that's the NBA sometimes. But yeah, I mean, yeah, lasting multiple rounds with AG and all these injuries. I mean, that's the big question. And we just don't know. And I don't know what kind of defense they're going to play, what level of intensity they'll play. I know that it's going to be higher than what it is now, of course. So we'll see.
The only
I mean,
Go ahead.
I just like losing in the Western Conference Finals or the finals. Does it really change your outlook versus the second round?
It doesn't change what I would do, but it potentially changes what I think the team would do. I do think that a first round exit would leave them more inclined to pull the duck the tax lever for next season that I don't necessarily think is like the default thinking right now. I think that right now they're probably thinking the median outcome is like second round exit. It's what you're saying, second round exit in 6 or 7 games. Like if you put a gun to the head of like the people in the front, like not in the front office, but like in like the KSE suite, they would probably be thinking, okay, we're probably second round exit in like 6 or 7 games. Um, and we're probably not going to try to duck the tax, but we're going to try to keep under the second apron, right? I do think if they went out in the first round, it would probably like move the dial to that like closer to the ducking the tax decision. Which would involve trading a starter.
So getting a Western Conference Finals could maybe incentivize them to like not duck the tax.
Well, I don't think that they'll necessarily duck the tax if it was a second round exit either.
Okay.
But
That's
I think a
good
Western
news.
Conference Finals would guarantee that that's not what they do this summer. At least this summer. Like they might try to put themselves in position to maybe do it at the deadline, depending on how next season goes. But it wouldn't be like we're trading AG this summer. Or like trading Cam and not paying Peyton, which would be like, I think a lot of people would be very pissed off about. I think a finals situation is interesting because if they lose in the finals, I think you have to win to like you'd have to win, and even then, it's still a question whether they'd go into the second apron intentionally. I don't think there's anything short of a championship that would make them go into the second apron, and even then, like I said, I don't know for sure.
It's kind of funny if we win. Yeah, because how can you break up anything in terms of like a championship team?
I mean,
It's interesting.
Easy. Look at what Brad Stevens did.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, Tatum did get injured in that playoffs, and then they were like, "Oh, there's our out," you know.
And one question we haven't asked, though, I mean, yeah. Arc Smart says if they let P-Watt walk, would Jokic start questioning the Cronkies? But also, like,
I would be shocked if Jokic didn't question the Cronkies now, but it's not going to change his behavior, which is all that matters.
How would Jokic feel given all these different scenarios with the extension?
Jokic is signing his extension. He told the X's into his podcast he wants to stay in Denver. Like, this is not a question to be anymore.
And if we lose in the first round, it's got to be some weird shit that he probably is like, AG's hamstring. He got hurt again and we lost. You know?
Yeah. But, he's like, I like staying in Denver. He likes his little fiefdom in Denver. Is what I gathered from that portion of the interview.
Yeah. Losing in the finals.
He's not going to ask out.
Losing in the finals would.
Maybe they'd wait until he signed his extension to trade AG.
There you go.
That'd be crazy.
Brother. Yeah, Jokic would freak out if AG was gone.
Jokic said he cried when they traded Gary.
Little did he know. I mean, he still would have cried if he had known AG was going to be amazing, but
yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, but this time they're not trading. They wouldn't be trading AG for someone that they like wanted. They'd be trading him to dump salary.
Yeah. All right. So
Possibly.
most likely thing that happens if we lose the finals, in your opinion?
If they lose in the finals, I think they try to move Cam and pay Peyton.
It just sucks with like the
I don't think that
reality
they
of
do.
this.
They can't pay Peyton and stay under the second apron. It's just not. It's not possible. I'm looking at the books again for next year, and right now they're at, uh, yeah, they're $2 million under the second apron for next season with everybody that's on roster. 10 million of that will be cleared up with Jonas, but that's not enough to pay Peyton like reasonably.
Yeah.
And that's only with uh that's with not enough guys on roster. So yeah, they'd need to clear up some money if they want to stay on under the second apron, which is I think what they would try to do. To be fair, I don't think they would do this, but there is an option to go over the second apron and then just try to position yourselves to move money at the deadline and kind of go based on how next season goes. But I don't think they would do that. I think that would put them in too perilous a situation. They'd probably just want to stay out of the second apron, instead of like this year where they like you can duck the apron or the tax by like basically the trade deadline. You have until the end of the league year to get under that. Under that limit. But they don't want to be like in a position where they're like they have to do something at the deadline or they're trapped, I think. So they'd probably try to do something in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how like just with the way the roster set and the money that Cam just becomes a kind of flexible chip to use, even though it's like he's not doing anything wrong really. I mean, I know he questions about his injuries, questions about his consistency of his play. I don't want to lose him. I think like if he found like a rhythm with his team and played more,
Well,
like
the
he could
other,
be really, really good.
like realistically speaking, though, like you can't pay Peyton and keep Cam because
If you want to
you're
be
going to
under
be
the second
paying.
apron.
You're going to be paying. No. You're going to be paying Peyton starter money. We're not the Wolves where they just pay Nas Reed $25 million to come off the bench, right? I mean, we could be if we paid if like Christian was coming off the bench, but we're not doing that. The Wolves also only have one like backs player right now because Rudy's restructured and all that. So it's just Ant. So they have a little bit more flexibility at that top end than we do. So they can kind of do something like pay their six-man $25 million a year. But you're and all you want to clear up those minutes for Peyton as well. And I think that's where
what's
it would
so
go.
hard when you got CB and it's like he should be the one to move out of the starting lineup, but he has that contract. So it's like, then what are you going to do there? You know, like you could trade Cam just so that P-Watt could start and then you play P-Watt and Cam.
Yeah.
Or I mean, P-Watt and CB, I mean, in that scenario, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I wish this was like the NFL and we could restructure contracts. We wouldn't. I don't think that if the NBA had similar rules, I don't think they'd let you restructure Christian as soon as you signed him. So like that wouldn't be possible. But it'd be cool if you could restructure like Jamal and like just give him, a bonus and maybe add a year or something and just lower his annual number. Man, the NFL has a hard salary cap, but it is like way faker than the NBA salary cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had all these questions and I was like, what's going to happen with the Nuggets? Like, whose fault is it going to be? And
we just laid it out. It kind of doesn't. You made a really good point that it kind of doesn't matter whose fault it is.
Yeah.
At any
I know.
Of these
that's
stages.
what I'm realizing. It really
does that give you more peace?
It kind of does, but it's also kind of frustrating that there's like less you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like it's harder to solve. Like you can find out what's going to happen, but it's like the same solutions or solutions. There's only a couple options, and it depending on where you see the team, you just pull that lever or not. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you think the CB contract is good?
Well, his contract hasn't kicked in yet, so I don't know. It's not tradable right now, so that's not good. I didn't think it was tradable at the time. I said 5 years is for a player you keep.
But
I
you
thought 4 years is
definitely,
for a player you keep, but 5 years for a player you never want to be able to trade.
but you still didn't like. You were on record saying you weren't like a fan of the number per year that he got on the extension, and you wanted to
Especially
go a
for the
little
length
bit
of the deal. I
less.
said if you're going
Yeah.
to 5 years, you need to give yourself more flexibility on that annual number, and they didn't do that. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me like, "Oh my gosh, Grace, you were totally right about this." It's like I was totally wrong about letting Peyton go into the season without a contract, though. So I'm not some like contract savant.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Matt Moore said Stevie was $5 million better than Tumani Kamara. Yeah, I thought I saw that too. I was like, no. At the time I was like, no. The Blazers got Tumani on a scam deal. Yeah.
Dang.
Anyway, if you guys made it this far, you are total sickos, but we love you. Appreciate you
Thanks
the most.
everyone.
If you like our
hanging in
content,
the
please
chat
remember.
so long.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate all the comments and questions. I love talking contract stuff. So that was my way. That last segment, by the way, was my way of like shoehorning in off-season talk in the middle of or not the middle of the season, but like while the regular season's still going on. If you like our content, please remember to click the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. I can't imagine audio listeners listening to the end of this show. If you guys do, leave us a comment on Spotify because I want to know that you actually exist. The ones that make it to the end of the audio. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. All your links are in the description. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks. But apparently, neither outcome will matter for the Aussies.